It's a Thursday morning. Welcome to the AM News here on the AM Show. My name is Pakwisi Shandov. So, very first story, students at the basic school level will soon get access to approved textbooks for their courses nearly 3 years after a new curriculum was introduced. The Ministry of Education says that it will soon distribute these books to the various schools as it takes stock of the first batch of printed textbooks ahead of the September deadline. Michael Ashale has more in the following report.
Textbooks are a must-have for students, but since the curriculum for basic schools was revised some 3 years ago, students in Ghana, especially at the basic school level, have been without textbooks. In May 2022, the Ministry of Education gave all publishers 120 days to finish printing textbooks for onward distribution to students. The Minister for Education, Dr. Yao Osei Educhum, has been inspecting the progress of the printing.
Here today is for us to see a Ghanaian company doing a fantastic job. Look at the quality of the print. Appointed time publishers are a printing company. They are doing a fantastic job for the government. And here we have the science books being printed for the primary schools. And other printers are also doing the other textbooks. But I'm excited to see that they've done this on schedule. In fact, they've done ahead of schedule. So that the books can start hitting the classrooms. You have the truck standing there, the books are there, they're going to load it, and the first consignment will be leaving this place. And that's what makes me excited.
With more than 2 months to the deadline given to the publishers, the minister has taken stock of some of the reading materials for teaching and learning. He believes the textbooks will be ready before the September deadline. So in the communique, it was 120 days for them to deliver. Do I get a sense they are going to deliver ahead of that time? For appointed time, they have. They have actually done a marvelous job. I was not expecting it this time. They've done it. They've done ahead of schedule. And I hope other printers will follow suit. What about other printers? Have you gone there? Go there. I had to come here first. You know, their name is prophetic, appointed time. So at the appointed time, we came. At the appointed time, they printed. Yes. And at the appointed time, they are distributing. Appointed Printing House is responsible for printing textbooks for integrated science. According to its logistics manager, Obed Hagan, more than 70,000 books are ready and will be delivered to the Education Ministry.
Currently, as you can see, we have over 70,000 and these ones are ready and they are going out today. They are currently being loaded. So over 70,000.
Do we know where the books are going to?
Well, we are taking them to the Education Office, the Accra Regional Office.
But in total, how many books are we printing?
We are
for the science?
For the science, I think it's over 300,000.
Okay.
Yes.
For students, this might come as refreshing. Meanwhile, the ministry is yet to decide when these books will finally be made available to students. For Joy News, Michael Ashale.
Now, schools in the Upper West region have completely been deserted by teachers, leaving the pupils on their own. Most schools in the region are now under lock and key, forcing pupils, especially those who are in the final year, to study on their own. Correspondent Rafiq Salam reports that the teachers' strike has also given opportunity for some pupils to gallivant around the municipality.
It is day 2 of the teachers' strike in the Upper West region. Schools in the region have completely been deserted by the teachers. Here at the War Model Primary School, the school looks more like a ghost town. Out of the over 30 teachers in the school, only one was present at the time we got here. For fear of being victimized by authorities, she refused to either be on camera or speak on tape. The school has a pupil population of 1,000, and majority of them reported to the school in the morning but had to leave due to the absence of the teachers at the school. All classrooms in the 2 football field-sized school compound are under lock and key. The school feeding caterers, though asked by authorities to continue cooking services for the pupils, are not at post, and their makeshift storerooms are only filled with firewood. No food for the few obedient pupils who defy the strike to stay and study on their own. I bump into these junior high school final year pupils who are on their way home from the school, who share their frustrations over the strike.
We are not learning anything, and BEC is also coming ahead of us. If we do not learn anything, what are we going to go and write at the BEC when the day comes? So that's why we are just afraid. We are not happy with what is happening. So a lot is happening. None of the teachers want to teach us, and the teachers too are afraid to come into their class to teach us.
Why are they afraid?
Yes.
Why are they afraid?
Because anything can happen to them.
Some of their colleagues are coming to chase them away.
Yes.
Because we're not able to learn, and we are time is ahead of us, and we want to learn hard and be able to pass our BEC. So we are begging the government to pay our teachers, and we will be able to go to school and learn hard and pass our BEC.
Few meters away from them is another group of pupils heading same direction. They appeal to the government to listen to the concerns of the teacher unions for them to return to the classrooms.
But once they are on strike, we can learn.
Yes.
They don't teach us.
Yes.
Yes, we want them to teach us.
But why did
we are teaching ourselves, too, but we went and do some small classes and we are going home again.
Okay, so now it's up to you to do your own classes?
Yes.
Okay, what do you want the government to do?
We want them to increase our teachers' salary so that they will teach us.
For some pupils in the one municipality, the teacher strike is an avenue for them to gallivant around, at least on the blind side of their parents and guardians. A clear case is these leadless pupils who were spotted by our camera around the Upper West Regional Coordinating Council. This surely is not good for optics, as observers are mumbling and grumbling over the issue. Reporting for Joy News, Rafik Salam. Wah.
Now, Minority Leader Haruna Idrisu is fighting back accusations that his side should accept blame for Ghana's latest return to the IMF. Some government officials have said the NDC's opposition to the e-levy and the consequent failure of the tax handle to realize the projected amounts forced the government to seek a bailout from the IMF. But speaking to journalists in Parliament, Haruna Idrisu said his side would not accept any responsibility as regards the economy's current predicament.
Now, they should stop any attempt to shift blame. E-levy remains an unpopular tax instrument, and therefore the fact that it passed does not mean it had the support or has the support of the minority. We rejected it because it was unpopular. We shared it with you. We rejected it because it's marks of double taxation. Indeed, in many jurisdictions, it will not stand constitutional acceptability. I cannot see why I take my income tax, pay an income on my tax, and in sending 2,000 of it to my mother on an electronic platform, I still have to pay tax on it. So our position on it have not changed. Therefore, the essence of this press briefing, they must take full responsibility and focus on expenditure reduction, particularly focusing on social intervention whilst they reduce their opulent expenditure. What is of greater concern to the NDC minority is that they arrogantly rejected every reasonable and constructive suggestion from us and from other respected economists and Ghanaians on working together to improve the economy. What they must learn to live with is that once the Ghanaian people voted for a hung parliament, it meant that the days of impositions are over.
National Chairman hopeful for the New Patriotic Party, Kwabena Abankwah-Yeboah, says he's the right person to help the party break the eight. Mr. Abankwah-Yeboah, who is the current National Treasurer, says he would bring everybody within the party on board at all levels to make it possible for the NPP to win the 2024 general election and remain in power. According to him, the NPP needs a national chairman who can instill discipline and maintain a united front. There's more in this political desk report by my colleague, Kweko Asante.
When we went for the ballot, I'm the number 8.
Okay.
And therefore, my slogan, vote number 8. Kwabena Abankwah-Yeboah to break the 8.
Kwabena Abankwah-Yeboah would have served the NPP as national treasurer for 8 years by next week when the party goes to the polls. He is seeking now to lead the party as national chairman. He touts himself as a unifier and the only one among the chairmanship contenders who can lead the party to victory in the next election.
These are the qualities I am bringing to bear, and I'm asking the delegates to give me the opportunity to serve the party. Qualities of being firm, being fair to the people, making sure that you have a listening ear, qualities of making sure that whatever opportunities are there, there's an equity in the game, qualities of making sure that we work together as a party and we react quickly to any grievances that may bring division in the party. Qualities of the fact that there is a need for us to ensure that whatever we do it in oneness for the Agenda 2024 victory and beyond.
Kwabena Abankwah-Yeboah believes the party needs resources to be able to match the NDC and secure victory. He wants accountability for these resources.
As a treasurer, I worked earnestly to ensure that the party's financial base was properly set up, and also to ensure that there was proper accountability by way of monies that went into the various constituency accounts. I also made sure there were some transparencies set up, in the sense that anything that I sent to them, I gave them information. And therefore, it helped the party also making sure that there was accountability.
There are some who have criticized him as not having performed well as treasurer, but he's been defending his records.
Treasury, as a treasurer, I've delivered. I've brought in a lot of innovations, fundraising tools, adopted polling station, the first of its kind, D-Day, sponsorship of polling station, just a common, an amount of 500, we're able to mobilize money for over 40,000 polling stations. It worked in 2016, it worked in 2020, and I believe it will work until the end of time.
The economy is now in distress. Ghana has engaged the IMF, but Abankwah-Yeboah says the party has performed better, must be retained to continue their good work.
For me, it is not. For me, I believe we need to sit down as a party when the new leadership comes and strategize and communicate properly to the masses. Most of the problems we are having now has a root cause. And of course, because it has a root cause, the public should know and understand why all these things have come into play. My only problem, and I have that with NDC, is the fact that they are not giving solutions.
Abankwah-Yeboah comes up against strong contenders, including party stalwarts Stephen Ntim, who will be running for chairman for the 5th time, former SIGA boss Stephen Asamoah Boateng, Sami Krab, and Professor Ameyawe Kumfi.
When Ashesi moved online in 2020, electrical and electronics major Michael Boateng got a pet dog, his long-held desire. However, a few weeks after he got the foreign breed, it passed away due to poor pet care practices. When it was time to choose a senior year project this past academic year, Michael decided to work on better ways to raise pets. Based on his experiences, he built a low-cost automated dog feeder equipped with a mobile app. Love FM's Kwesi Debra has more on Tech Thursday.
After reading more about pet ownership, he came across this gap in the Ghanaian pet care practices he thought to address. Michael built an automated dog feeder modeled after feeders on the global market, but at a much lower cost. The feeder has an automated food, water and medication dispenser with a companion mobile app for active monitoring.
So my project is an automatic meal dispenser for household dogs, and it works in the sense that it's able to deliver food, water and medication to your dogs, and then give you an alert on the temperature of the food as well as the water levels, and also tell you if your dog is eating well or not, judging by the weight of the bowl with the food in it. This is the printed circuit board, and on it I have all the different components that I'm using. And here is the relay. The relay controls the different components that are 12 volts. So for example, this LED strip is also controlling the 775 motor fan. It's controlling the glow plug, which is used for heating, and it's controlling some other things too as well. So here's the RTC clock. so that I can know specific times to feed the dog. The OLED display shows the times as well as a bitmap image of the dog bowl when the time is right. And then a back converter steps down the power that's received from the back. So it's a plug-in. The user has to plug it in. And at the top here, this is where you put your food, and this is where you put your water. And then this top here is a cooling system. So at the back, the fans that are on, it's the cooler that is cooling the system. So to finally be dispensed here, this is where it's heated, this is where it's mixed. And this servo controls the medicine that's to be put into the food, and finally the food will come out through this track. And here's where the water comes out through, using these hose, the water sensor, and finally it displays it on the software. This is the software. There are 4 softwares that control the machine. The first one is the app. The app controls the specific amount of food you want to give to the dog, the type of dog that you have, and then when you want to actually give it food. And then the second software that I have here, I use HTML, CSS, PHP, and then MySQL. This measures the temperature of the food that is being delivered, as well as the water level. And it can also send you a Gmail alert too as well, because sometimes perhaps the user will not be able to go directly to the web page. They want to receive the alert when the dog is fed. And then finally, the weight of the bowl will be displayed here. That'll give you the weight of the actual amount of food that has been given to the dog, as well as a graph for the water level. Here's the app. I called it the Pet Mix app. And as soon as you open it, you have 3 different options. You can use voice control to actually feed the dog directly. By uttering the words "feed now," it's able to feed your dog directly. Or perhaps you would want to actually select the specific amount of food. So you go to "Let's do it." So say you have a German Shepherd, because they have specific amounts of food that they are supposed to eat. So you go to "Next," and here you select the different food combinations. There's option 1, option 2, and option 3. And then let's say I select this one. So then the feeding times, once daily, twice daily, or thrice daily. And finally, you select the time that you want to give the dog food. And then if you want to give it a dewormer, yes or no. And finally, you're able to view the analytics. So then you can go to finish. And finally, you have the quick functions. Here you're able to put on and off the device, initiate pet calling. So at a specific frequency, the dog will be able to come in here and then start eating the food. The water now function helps you to be able to give the dog water right when you press that button. So these are just some quick functions. And finally, cancel program, when you want to cancel the time that you're giving the dog food, maybe you want to change it again. Using the quick functions, I can control the automatic pet feeder using different ways. So for example, if I want water to come out, this is how water will come out. So you can see water coming out down there, and then I can put it off finally. So that's how water comes out of the machine. This is the pet calling function. So specifically it's supposed to alert dogs at a specific frequency, but I thought it would be boring, so perhaps I reduce the frequency so that human beings can hear it.
Now, the British High Commission has begun a move to revamp the Voto Star Textiles Limited in the Northern District of the Voto region. The initiative, which falls under Britain's job and economic transformation agenda, will allow investors retool the textile factory to produce to meet market demands. British High Commissioner Harriet Thompson, led by the Northern Member of Parliament, Okuditu Ablakwa, toured the facility for first-hand information.
The Volta Star Textile Limited was established in the late 1960s in Japan, in the Northern District of the Volta region by the late Dr. Kwame Nkrumah, Ghana's first president. It witnessed an upgrading under the administration of General Champon in 1978 and operated until 2005 when it collapsed due to outmoded machines among other factors. President John Ajekum Kufuor revamped the yarn and grey-bath manufacturing factory in 2007. It has since been operational to date. In recent times, the factory operates under capacity due to the outmoded machinery. It is only able to produce 6 million yards out of the expected 20 million yards per annum. Speaking at a mini deba, the Mankalalo of the Dofo traditional area, Togbe Mankalalo Agbohala VI, lamented the state of the factory.
This textile factory is one of the largest factories in West Africa. The current situation of the factory is that the machines are outmoded and we need retooling or new machine to revamp the factory. The demand of our finished product is so high that the factory cannot meet the demand of the market.
The British High Commissioner, Her Excellency Harriet Thompson, after a feasibility study to ascertain the state of the factory, promised to liaise and get investors to revamp it.
Through the Jobs and Economic Transformation Programme, the British government is supporting the government of Ghana to transform those sectors of really high potential, including garments and textiles, helping to create the policy environment and helping to drive the investment that will really see those sectors perform to their fullest potential, generate the wealth for the country, but also, obviously, and very importantly, to create the jobs that are so desperately needed. So I'm very glad that as part of that programme, my team are helping to lead the discussions that will identify the right investors for this factory, help to structure the financing in the right way that can enable this factory to return, I hope, to its former days of glory.
The Northern Member of Parliament, Okujetu Ablakwa, believes the initiative to retool the factory will fit into the agenda of the African Continental Free Trade Area.
With the talk of the African Continental Free Trade Area, where Africa wants to industrialize, where we want to increase intra-African trade so that we will empower our young people, create jobs for our young people, this is the way to go. We already have a factory that can serve as, a growth pole, and we just have to expand and revamp the factory. So I am really passionate about this factory. I am really hopeful that this partnership will be long-lasting and it will serve our community very well.
Fred Kwame Asari, Joy News, Dwapong.
Thanks for your company. The show continues. Don't go anywhere.
All right, so welcome back to the AM show. It's time for us to bring you the news review. And joining us for today's interaction is Consultant Gender and TVET Management, Afi Agbenyo. Good morning to you, Afi, and I hope you're doing well. Great, okay. Earlier, your mic was mute, and so I couldn't hear what you said, but I hope you're doing well.
Yes, I'm doing very well.
Great. Now, let's start from the Daily Graphic newspaper, which is talking about improving tourism sector with total $10 million SMEs grant launched. Now, the story says President Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo has launched a $10 million Ghana Tourism Small and Medium Enterprises grant for players in the hospitality and creative arts sector to enhance and expand their businesses. The grant, which is a Government of Ghana initiative supported by the World Bank, will assist 1,500 SMEs operating in the sector to modernize and improve tourist site, restaurant, tour operations, event organization, and related businesses to become attractive and competitive. Now, Afi, what do you make of this news that, well, this grant is there to help small and medium-scale businesses in the sector to grow, to make the sector as vibrant as it has to be?
Right. Thank you very much. I think, first and foremost, it's commendable that there is such a facility to support the growth of tourism. It's also obvious the impact of tourism on our economy and even local economy, which is more important, because, of course, that's where the growth starts from. The fund and its operations will also, of course, have to look at the ways tourism have evolved and the operations of tourism have evolved over the years. In the time past, you had a lot more institutional systems gathering people to go and check on to go and visit communities and tourist sites. In recent times, the evolution is you have individuals organizing tourism, organizing people, taking people on tours. You have different activities that fit into the whole conversation or the value chain of tourism. For example, in recent times, there's a lot of young people, social media influencers in the space of tourism. And these people are driving, especially local tourism, a lot more than what we will perceive as existing companies or institutions. So it is important that the fund is operationalized in a way that appreciates the evolution of tourism and the business of tourism. There's people who take you on tours to, for example, a major fair, your people who are organizing people from outside the country, taking people on tours. It's important that we look at these individuals who are establishing the tourism business in the way that they are establishing. We look at the social media influencers who are also projecting our tourist sites the way that they're projecting them in on social media. Of course, then we're looking at the local spaces where we're looking at restaurants that are serving food. And it's important because most often these funds have very rigid rules that do not appreciate the evolution of the businesses that they are hoping to expand or develop. So that would be my comment, but first and foremost to say that this is commendable.
Okay. Now, we should also look at processes that these tour operators go through to get their businesses legalized. What sort of support services should this fund make available to these operators to ensure that everybody is doing what is lawful and to, develop the sector?
Right. This is a very important point that you raised, and that's what I was trying to get to that. In our bid to define SMEs, in our bid to look at what is called a company, the fund should be mindful of individuals who are raising businesses. And this is important because if criteria that is rigid, then you would have to use funds to now make sure that these individual companies fit into the operations and the criteria that you have. But if you're starting this, it's important that you rather look into how they are operationalized, how they're existing. Of course, you want to check that their books are right. Of course, that you want to give them the institutional facility support, company registration, and things like that. But it is important that if we want to go, we also look at the ecosystem currently as it is operating and see how we can run with it so that we do not use the funds to do book work. And then in the end, the real work of tourism is not done. That's what I would say.
Interesting. But one challenge confronting the tourism sector has to do with bad road network to some of these beautiful sites that we do have. What should be our focus in trying to correct this? Because that is how we can make these tourist sites attractive. If they are there and the roads are bad, you have less people going there to really enjoy the facilities there. So with this fund, what must be the direction in that regard too?
Thank you. Of a truth, I cannot see the fund doing that much work when it comes to road network, infrastructure of that kind. I see the fund supporting individual businesses, or as the fund's name says, SMEs, to be able to operate. I see the fund giving them support to exist and be resilient. I see the fund possibly even funding tourism activities. So people are having a festival and the fund is encouraging community members, Ghanaians, to visit, and possibly transporting people, doing adverts, exposing the tourism sites that we have getting people to know. I don't see the fund doing the infrastructure work of tourist sites being put in place in a manner that is attractive. So we would have to do with what we have with the fund.
Okay.
The amount of money in the fund may not even construct a road, frankly.
That's
So
an important point you make there.
It would be difficult to be asking that of the fund.
That's an important point you make there. So what would be your suggestion to the tourism ministry and government in general? Because with this fund, like we say, if the roads are not better, we might not be deriving the ultimate benefit from that. So therefore, I'm sure we need to find ways to address that. But what would be your advice to the ministry in operationalizing this fund? How must we also go about ensuring that, in fact, access roads to these sites are better to derive the benefit that we want to get out of this fund?
I would really limit my comment on operationalizing of the fund, because there's a big conversation about infrastructure to tourist sites and even what we define as tourist sites. So it's important that I restrict the comment to the fund, and that will be that, one, let's look really into the current definition of what a tourism site is. Let's look into the current definition and evolving definition of what a tourism business is. Let's not get stuck into the traditional ways of running funds like this so that we get the maximum benefit. Consider young people a lot in going out to see tourist sites, so that you consider young businesses to be the ones to benefit. We should not be stuck in the legal issues and not support individual young businesses. And I would have loved to call many names, but I'm sure that the fund itself can see all these people on social media and be able to support them. Local tourism especially should be our interest, which I know is the interest of the fund. We should not also be bogged down by our unfortunate problem of chronism. It's not good for business. If we want to develop this country, we want to develop the sector, we should be very open, we should be very fair, we should support all and not use this fund as another means to, get cronies and friends and family in the name of they qualify, they are this and they are that. At the end of the day, there will be no benefits with that 10 million that we have. Thank you.
All right, let me end the daily graphic with you with the Ghana IMF begin talks on the enhanced domestic program. Now, it says the country yesterday opened formal discussions with the International Monetary Fund, IMF, in Accra towards securing an economic support program that can inject up to $3 billion into the economy. Now, the government is seeking the support of the fund to prosecute a 3-year program called the Enhanced Domestic Program, EDP. Now, Afi, I'm sure you've listened to a lot of discussion about this IMF and what have you, but now that consultations have begun, what should be our driving force, or what should be the focus as we move into, this program?
Well, first and foremost, and possibly that would be my most important point, is consultation in a very broad manner. We've come to this place not only because of strictly government mismanagement, but also because of government not listening to people who matter, which is the people of Ghana, which normally are represented also, apart from Parliament, by civil society. The voices of people in Ghana are equally represented by civil societies. And also, of course, research, the research community, which includes academia. So it's important that this consultation process is very engaging broadly, especially to include civil society and the academia. At this point, there is no shame. There is no need carrying ourselves with pride. It's important to open the conversation. Let everybody have a voice as much as possible through institutions like the civil society, academia, even Parliament, of course, which I'm sure that is a giving, so that we can get the maximum benefits of this process. We've been going in and out of the IMF And we may have to find a way to halt the process by making the best of this opportunity.
Interesting. So we should all be part of this. So labor should be there.
Yes.
Academia should be there to ensure that we are getting the right deal out of this. At the end of the day, it borders on all of us. That's what you're looking for, right?
That's my major concern. Broad discussions, as much as possible represented, women represented, the young people represented, through their various institutions that represent them, through various civil societies that represent them. We're looking at academia. You see, we are here not, where we are that's taking us to the IMF is not new. It was predicted by a lot of researchers. But we acted as though we can never be here. When researchers were telling government that this is the path that looks possible for you, it was not because they fancied Ghana going to the IMF, but because, of course, the figures were telling them what it looks like over the years where we're going to. And if we had listened, possibly we may have averted the situation. But now that we are here and we're going to the IMF, it's important that we listen, especially as government. Government listens. You see, Ghanaians, you saw the interesting thread on the IMF Facebook page, and various social media pages, actually. People's voices are there. Take it or leave it. I'm sure somebody's going to look into that for research in no time, how communities and citizens are engaging in these new dispensation that we have. You can find the voices of people, civil society voices especially, are even put together in a way that it's easier to consult. So yes, that's my point. Let the consultation be broad. Let civil society, labor unions, youth groups be engaged as quickly and as much as possible so that we can get the best of the voices of the people on how we want to do this. Thank you.
Well, but people also argue that we've been to the IMF countless times. We have not been able to still, stay without them for that long. We just came out of one, 2018, 2019, and we are back again in 2022. The discussion or the focus should be, how can we build a country that is not reliant on the IMF? From where you sit, how can we do this?
I'm actually not an economist. And what I would say is government should listen to the economists. Government should listen to expert voices. Government should include expert voices in its activities and its policies. That's what I can say.
Okay.
All right. Of course, we have issues of mismanagement. We have issues of bad governance. We have issues of our spendings being, of course, more than what we are generating. But in all of this, I say that let's listen to expert voices. Let's broaden the space of consultation so that when we do this particular route now, we're possibly going to it the last time. Thing is that if we don't go as Ghana, if we don't engage the IMF as Ghana, but we engage the IMF as an MPP government or an NDC government, what we do is to be very narrow-minded. And that means that in the event that there's another government, there is lack of continuity. And of course, that would also mean that we are going to get into a situation where we have to go back to the IMF again, because when we go through mismanagement of our funds, we're living large when we're a poor country. Our leaders are living large when we're a poor country. We are not paying people that should be paid for production to happen. Yes, so that will be my point from where I sit.
All right, let's move on to the Ghanaian Times newspaper. Now, it also carries a story about President launching $10 million grant initiative for SMEs in tourism, hospitality, creative arts industry. It also has country's interests as priority in IMF deal. That's according to Information Minister Kojo Opon Nkrumah. Now, government takes custody of first batch of textbooks from appointed time printing for distribution to schools. Supreme Court affirms judgment in favor of Odeniho Kwafo Akoto III. Now, I'm interested in the government taking custody of first batch of textbooks. This has been almost after 2 years when schools have been without textbooks. Today, we have it. How can we avert this whole development from reoccurring where schools will be in school for more than 2 years without textbooks, Afi?
It's a shame. It's a shame that we're here at this moment where there's nothing to celebrate about this, frankly. What we can do to avert it is to do the hard work of doing the work at the Ministry of Education. There are people who produce textbooks. There's a procurement system that gets textbooks to be produced. What were the procurement systems in terms of people who delay in publishing or delivering what they've been asked? If we're not running a system where profit is what matters to us, this should not happen. You will not give a contract to somebody and the person delays to this point, this time, and you will be, I don't know what you're doing with this person at this moment, and not cancel that contract and get your work done. It's either that or we didn't have the money and we were not telling ourselves the truth, that we didn't have the money to do the printing. So there's nothing to celebrate. We're grateful, though, that the children are going to have textbooks to learn, and the numbers are small as it is. For the years that they've been, months and into years actually, that they've been without textbook. We hope that there's a way that this compensates for it.
All right, so that's Afi Agbenyo's thoughts on the textbooks that have, officially been handed over to the Ministry of Education for distribution. But Afi, once this has delayed, what will be your suggestion on how the books should be distributed? Yesterday, we were having a discussion where we're thinking, well, because of the delay, let's just take it straight to the schools. But someone said, no, we can't not do it that way. What will be your suggestion to government as to how we can go about distributing these books because of the long delay in getting them to the schools?
If we're not taking it straight to the school, I don't know what we want to do. Have a fun fair to inaugurate the delivery. I'm not sure what we want to do. But first and foremost, there should be, and I'm very certain of that, the ministry, especially GAS, that there is a protocol of how textbooks are delivered. Now, we have to review the protocols now because of the delay. What I will recommend is that we start distributing the textbook to very low-income communities, deprived communities. Reason is that in communities where income levels are a bit high, parents are likely to have found alternative textbooks for their children. But in the rural communities, in deprived communities, they will go to school and there will be nothing to learn. So that the priority should be these communities. That will be first. And it should really go to the schools without any, news item and fanfare around it. It's children who need to learn, textbooks go to them, they learn, and that's what it is.
All right, now let's do the Daily Guide newspaper. What is of interest to me, and of course I'm sure it will be of interest to you, Afi, as well, is at the back page of the paper. It says massive boost for Black Stars as Inaki others switch for Ghana. I'm sure you've heard this whole thing about other players who are willing to play for Ghana now. What do you make of this development where we have this kind of talent coming in? I'm sure maybe you might not be a football fanatic, but yeah, you're a Ghanaian.
I'm glad you mentioned that. But really, congratulations to them. Being Ghanaian is a task as well as a pleasure. But there's, of course, so being Ghanaian in itself is what I will congratulate them for. And of course, making it to the Black Stars eventually. What this tells us also is how, over the years, leadership with football has been very terrible. Because are we going to continue on that tangent of having to look for people to change nationality before they play for the Black Star? I don't sit here with the technical expertise of the of football, but if it's leadership, then I think that we're not doing well with even the football system.
Okay.
There's fantastic talent that should be developed, and people should just be Ghanaians. They should qualify us to the World Cup and be able to also play. I mean, it rubs me a bit with a system of different people qualifying us to the World Cup or whatever tournament we're going, and then different sets of apparently fantastic people having to change their nationality before they join the team. If it mattered to them as well that much, and this is nothing compared. I'm not saying this attacking the individuals, but why didn't they change their nationality to support us to get to the World Cup? We are doing something wrong. We're not building talent. It's not sustainable. If tomorrow we don't have people who want to be Ghanaians, we might not get qualified players. I don't think it's sustainable. So we would have to rethink it. But congratulations to Iñaki, that's his name, right? And
Iñaki Williams.
Yes, football is important to us as Ghanaians.
Right.
It takes a lot of our troubles away. So all the best to the team so we can have some fun because times are very tough.
Okay. Now, in addition to Iñaki, we also know that Southampton defender Mohamed Salisu has declared himself available for the Black Stars. We also know that Tariq Lamptey, who is a right back for Brighton, has also switched to play for Ghana. We're also aware of Steven Ambrosius, who is a German-based footballer, as well as Ransford Yeboah. They've all decided to play for Ghana. So let's see how this takes us. But let's do the anchor now. And it says, massive reshuffle looms. Agriculture Minister, Gender, Finance, and others to go. Afi, is it something you're looking forward to see reshuffling in this government?
Yes. I'm looking forward to that in different ways.
Okay.
I think that first and foremost, the gender ministry is the ministry that's of interest to me, first and foremost. We have done that ministry a greater service. The history we are bringing to that ministry is that it doesn't matter. So much so that the ministry will be without a minister for this long. So yes, I look forward to a ministry that has a minister, which is the gender ministry. Then if people have done some work and they've not been able to achieve what they've set out to do themselves, the Great Minister, for example, have given us a lot of interesting figures when it comes to prices of food. It has proven over the years to be wrong. We've had projects in the Great Ministry that has not gone well. It's only fair, right, good governance practice that they go off so that others take the work and see. Thing is that when people also take the task, there's a vibrancy to want to do right. So if we get a reshuffle, I hope that it would help us to get to a good place.
Okay. Now on page 2 of that same paper, it says Bishop Herman students cry for toilet facility. Students of Bishop Herman College in Pando municipality of the Volta region have appealed to the government and other relevant authorities to provide them with better toilet facilities and potable water. According to some Form 3 students, they have resorted to defecating in the open since they gained admission into the school due to the bad nature of the only 2 toilet facilities in the school. I think this shouldn't be happening in this age. But how do we address this? Because there are so many of them in so many schools across the country.
Infrastructure is, especially educational infrastructure, is a thing that we would have to be very, very, very conscious about. Apart from that, also is maintenance. When it comes to school leadership, I think that this is the thing that this is a toilet facility. It's not even a big classroom block. So it's really an issue of local government, right? So I think that the school may have to get to the right authorities to do this as quick as possible. See, toileting is a matter of dignity as well, okay? It's not a good thing for the students to be in such a position. So it's toilet. We shouldn't really be having this conversation. Toilet facilities, please. Whoever is responsible should get this done as quick as possible. And I would also want to put this on the doorstep of school management, that managing school facilities is a thing that we would have to all They should get to managing school facilities. Then the good thing about that, being conscious about managing school facilities such as student toilet, is the practice it inculcates in the children, in students, of how to manage facilities. Yeah.
All right, now the Daily Statement says Zambia studies Ghana's small-scale mining industry. Ghana's interest to be prioritized in IMF deal. It comes with a picture of Kojo Ponkruma. The earlier story comes with a picture of the Deputy Minister for Land and Natural Resources in charge of mining, George Mreku Duka. Aikoyo to others quit NPP race. 45 new buses for Metro Mass Transit. Government committed to self-reliant sustaining economy. Afi, I don't know which of them interest you. Just a minute if you would want to take a bite on any of them. Maybe the small-scale mining.
Yes, actually, it's interesting if we've made this much progress to be studied. But of course, even bad cases are good for people to study to know how to avert it. So I can only hope that the study from the Gambian is profitable for them. But that moves me to our own situation. We've had very, very difficult times with small-scale mining, the impact on our environment, and we're even seeing dire consequences even as the rain comes. It all comes together. If you're messing up with the environment in one constituency, one community, one region, it all comes together and impacts the others. So it has a big effect on us. So the Ministry of Mines, I know, has fund that is supporting small-scale miners so they can mine, responsibly. If this is done well, we are in good course. Currently, I cannot say if it is being done well, but what I also noticed is the increase in tree planting in such communities. Just when we ended the Green Day, yes, there was a massive tree planting project. I hope that we continue to maintain these trees so that the impact of small-scale mining over the communities over the time can be reduced.
All right, Afi Agbenyo, thank you so much for this morning. She's a consultant, gender and TVET management. We're grateful for finding time to join. I do enjoy the rest of your day, Afi. All right, so that's it for the news review segment of the AM show. Up next is we'll bring you latest from the world of sports. Stay with us here. Welcome back to the AM show. It's now time for us to deal with the big stories. Now, IMF program Parliament's role in ensuring we make the best of the deal. Now that we've started talking about, we've started engagement with the IMF, what can Parliament do to, check on what exactly we're getting out of this deal? Also on the table today, teachers are on strike over what they call cost of living allowance COLA. What can Parliament do to resolve the issues at hand? Again, absenteeism in Parliament. Adjo Asafo fails to appear before the Privileges Committee. What is there to say? What is the next action to take? Today we've assembled two members of Parliament in the House to help us digest these issues. Al-Hassan Suhuyini is MP for Tamale North. He is here with me. I mean, this has been his fault. He used to be in the media, so he knows what we're doing. Honorable, good morning.
Good morning, my brother.
How are you doing?
I'm terrific, thank you. Good. Hope you are well too.
I'm fine.
Nice.
And then, okay, I won't say my neighbor, but Dr. Dixon Atuma Kukisi is MP for Anya Soutron. He is also here. Doc, good morning.
Morning.
How are you?
Very well. Okay. Very well. I'm happy to be here.
All right. I'm happy to have you. Let's start with the IMF, because that is the major issue in Ghana. Everyone is talking about it. there were predictions that Ghana will be going back to the IMF. Government denied that there was no way we were going to go, but eventually we had to go. And the IMF officials are in Ghana. The discussion started yesterday. Let me start with you, Doc. When your government denied that we are not going to go to the IMF because nothing pointed to the fact that we have to go, and then there had to be that ethnicity turnaround, how did it come across to you?
Well, in fact, this whole story hasn't been taken easily. I mean, personally, it's shaken me. It's a shock of some sort. But I think, looking at the genesis of all of this, the key point is that, and I said this in local parlance, you know, death, disgrace, and life. And really, we've had to choose life in the sense that no amount of words can change reality. And what I mean by that is, at this point in time, we're dealing with meeting obligations of government, statutory payments, and loan arrangements or agreements that we have to meet, or else doom prevails. And at that point, I think we don't need to wait till we're there, where people's salaries, pension reimbursements cannot be done. And that will send us into some very severe consequences on our economy, on our lives, and for that matter, the health and wealth of this nation. So, case in point, I think that one, IMF is going to be more of a help to the country at this point in time. And then more importantly, I think what I appreciate is the fact that they are more of a policing economic sort of machinery. And for that matter, will put us in check. And I think the timing is about right. We've had freedom for some few years because when we came into governance or government, we still were managing the country with IMF on board and even extended it for a few more months than the initial deadline. And I think their absence for, I think, about 3 years hasn't helped us as much as we wished. Now,
so what that means is that without the IMF, you cannot police yourself?
Not necessarily. I think that the key thing, and let me state this categorically, is the fact that the checks have always been there. IMF has been there doing the checks. Even when we went off IMF, by virtue of the fact that we have relations with them, an outstanding agreement, and as it is, that they've been with us all this time, and have been with other nations, including the Brits and the Americas and the Canadians. I mean, you know, they've been with us. But this is a time where we are actually embracing them again, instead of the Mackenzies and, you know, these other firms that you know, were helping us do very bold things. Okay. And I think that our biggest troubles were, one, the shortfalls in the tax revenues of this country. Some blunders were made to some extent, in the sense that when we came on board, we threw out some taxes and then expanded government expenditure by way of the flagship programs. And we're talking about free SHS, we're talking about NAPCO, we're talking about many, you know, planting for food and job, many governmental audacious things, you know, building huge facilities
But when you're promising to do those, didn't you know the state of the economy?
Well, I think one of the things that hoodwinked us is COVID, and that's real. It goes to many industries, and one of our biggest chunk is tourism in this country, where, as you know, the year of return brought in some revenue for hotel industry and for other tourist sites, including where they buy souvenirs and things like that. So we lost that chunk. I always say my flight to Europe or US sometimes is more than the taxes Ghana puts on them. And we lost a bit of that too when we stopped flights coming in and out of this country. And not just when we stopped, even when we opened our borders again for flights, you know, the frequency reduced because of COVID, and government revenues from just the airline industry dropped drastically. And that is a huge chunk of our foreign incomings flow. And beyond that, to many of our relatives that we depend on for small businesses in this country also were not sending remittance. And that also was due to COVID's ravaging behavior in the Western Hemisphere. And that is also a fact.
Okay.
Many of our people have projects, even their own homes, in this country. And that is a direct relation to the masons, carpenters, plumbers in this country. You know, a lot of our expatriates or diasporans are supporting this country through their effort of trying to build a home that they can come to when they come back home. And COVID killed a lot of their jobs. So, you know, a lot of them couldn't be sending any money.
Why is a country like Cote d'Ivoire's situation different from Ghana's when we all...
I think there's no way. I mean, looking at the numbers of Ghanaians that remit to Ghana, I think we're on the high side compared to Cote d'Ivoire. You know, I'm saying that is a huge chunk.
What I mean is that the COVID was not specific to Ghana. Cote d'Ivoire, I mean, all countries experienced it, but it looks like our case is or has deteriorated compared to this. And I'm trying to find out from you, why is that the case? That they are doing quite well.
I wouldn't say that we have deteriorated.
Really?
I mean, looking at, for instance, the key thing here is that government's bold agendas. I mean, Agenda 111, for instance, is huge. Ambulance per district constituency, huge. Cote d'Ivoire didn't take on these things. Cote d'Ivoire didn't take on free SHS, which is a huge chunk. I mean, if you look at as doubling what the NDC government was doing in terms of monies taken to education. I mean, quite recently, it was clear that under the NDC government, it was, I think, about 20 million, and MPP did 40 million. The numbers are there. The loans that we've all agreed to are there. You know, over 120 projects, sea defense, fish landing sites, just to name a few. Interchanges, where phase 2 were done by us, or phase 3 of some of these, you know, these are things that Suhini and I agreed to in Parliament. And sometimes I beg to differ when they say that all these loans, these are loans we all thought were prudent in the interest of developing Ghana. And when you compare Cote d'Ivoire to us, I would tell you that we were more ambitious. We did huge projects, or we're doing huge projects, which are very...
And are those the reasons why our inflation is skyrocketing? Because that of Cote d'Ivoire, I learned, is around 3.5 in May 2022. Yours is hovering around...
Ours.
Yeah, okay, ours.
Because I think you're living in this country.
Exactly. Yeah. Ours is hovering more than 20%. That's a huge gap between us and Cote d'Ivoire.
Our country runs on fuel, and fuel prices have affected us, whether you like it or not. Fuel prices...
Cote d'Ivoire's economy also runs on fuel.
Well, not to the extent. I mean, for instance, listen, our economies are different. That's a fact. Now, when you talk about Cote d'Ivoire, let me tell you one key thing. Cote d'Ivoire's support by France is huge compared to what we get from our former father or former mother, which is the United Kingdom. And that is a fact. So when they get cushioned by France, don't compare me to Cote d'Ivoire. I mean, listen, all their drugs are imported from France, and that is a fact. They don't take these, excuse me to say, Chinese derivatives. They don't have the likes of the tobaccos, which you know is a fact. So clearly, our economies are not the same. Where Cote d'Ivoire is shepherded, let me say, by a parent with a huge chest, and I know that Macron will not leave Cote d'Ivoire hanging as the Brits. And I think Otumfuo said it so nicely that the Brits do a lot of bureaucratic talks with us. And when it comes to doling out support, they don't.
All right,
so that is one huge thing that is a fact.
I hear.
That the Ivorians are supported still by France. And that cannot be discounted from an economic perspective.
I hear. Let me turn to your colleague MP, Al-Hassan Sohini here. So your side were predicting that we have to go to the IMF. What did you say?
Not just them, though. I mean, let's be fair. You know, within the MPP party, there were people who were also...
Who and who?
I can state for a fact that former MP...
The former finance, chairman of the...
Yes, that is one enough example. And within the majority caucus, some of us were not in support, but then it's majority, wins and rules. So let me clarify that.
Okay.
Yes.
All right.
Yeah.
Alhassan.
Thank you. Good morning, and good morning to our viewers and very good people of the Tamale North constituency. First of all, I think that we must establish some truths. I will go into some of the issues that Doc has raised, but I want us to start from the point of some truths that have been denied for a very long time. One spoken by Mr. Lloyd Mensah, Professor Lloyd Mensah, that coincided, with the truths that the minority was speaking then, that our problems did not start when COVID hit. And our problems cannot, fairly and honestly be blamed on COVID or even Russia.
Solely on COVID.
Yes, that's what I said. It can't be solely blamed on COVID because the problems clearly started before COVID, before the 2020. The indicators were clear that we were slipping. And that is why I have said that it is like the child who inherits so much from the parents and did not appreciate the hard work the parents put in to establish the wealth that he came to meet. And so went into town bragging about having so much wealth and doing so well in life and organizing parties, be it Kenke or Wache, to celebrate the wealth that he had inherited from the parents, without even giving credit to the suffering that the parent went to create the wealth, only to deplete, and did not make the right investments that he came to meet with the wealth, and so depleted all that he came to meet. And by 2019, the prodigal son, and by 2019, it was clear that the child was wasting, what it came to meet on frivolous expenditure.
Like what?
I mean, you name them. Flying luxuriously, and I mean, those contracts, the PDS deals, that you were denying. Yes, which cost us, and also has disorganized the power sector arrangements that would have brought in maybe some revenue and would have freed up. I mean, it affected us. You couldn't have ignored that. I mean, it's not possible for one to, it's not fair for one to ignore that. So a lot of those very reckless decisions that were taken, gave the indication by 2019 that we were slipping. And Mark Asibe also speaks the second truth that I talk about, that the gains that came out of the NDC's engagement with the IMF at the time that it did, were were wasted. And they bragged about it, but they did not do the same hard work. They did not continue with the hard work that the NDC, engaged in to bring about the gains. They simply were excited about the gains and bragged about it, but did not do what Setekwe used to call smart borrowing, where you borrow to fund projects that can pay for themselves. So, for example, he used to talk about borrowing to do the Ghana gas, and the Ghana gas not only paying for itself, but creating jobs, ensuring that our imports of LPG is reduced by 50%, and the exchange, the dollars or foreign currency we need to mobilize to bring in crude reducing, and even LPG reducing, and all of that. You talk about the ports expansion and how much the ports are now raking in so that it can pay for itself and also increase government revenue. I mean, these are contracts you came to continue, that you must be given credit. But I'm saying that, if you came to meet such self-financing projects and you had a windfall coming to you, you did not have any business engaging in what mostly or largely was consumption, expenditure. So if you take the budget for 2017, 2018, 2019, it is only 2020 that capital expenditure, in the budget, was appreciably high. Apart from that, 2017, 2018, 2019, we did less than 15% for capital expenditure. All the money went into recurrent expenditure, just things chop. You remember that famous chop. MP from Kumasi who said about free education is not chop. Yes, a lot of, not a chunk, but some significant investments went into free education. But then again, the question is,
which will pay later.
The question is, did we have to do it the way that we did it? Before the 2016 general elections, it was clear to any fair-minded person in this country that both parties supported and thought there was a need for us to have education made free at the secondary level. After all, President Mahama at the time argued that it was actually a constitutional imperative that we must make education progressively free. But we looked at the kitty, how much was coming in, how much we could, bring in more, and how much it will require to do it in such a way that you will not compromise the quality. So the NDC thought that let's do it progressively, as the Constitution itself
and even mandated. The finance minister.
Now the finance minister comes to agree with us. But then the NPP thought that, and with Nana Akufo-Addo thought that we should do it and damn the consequences. But when we raised the objection,
if after he had won, he had come to say, okay, I think I agree with you. I want to do. Would you have agreed with him to say, let's do it the way you are proposing?
You cannot take away the fact that the NDC would have at least said, we told you so, but we would have supported it. Because that's what is good for this country.
Now, this is what you're saying.
For example, we are not excited that we are going to the IMF, but we have been sounding the alarm bells.
You seem very happy.
We have been sounding the alarm bells for a very long time now. So all you can see us do, which you may misinterpret to mean we are excited, is that we told you so. You should have listened to us. You shouldn't have ignored all the, wisdom from experienced managers of the economy. They have been there, they have handled it, and they were telling you that, look, you were slipping, you were taking us to a ditch. So if they had listened, maybe we would not be here. But now that we are here, it is our duty as an alternative government to cooperate with them and see how together we can get the best, out of the engagement with the IMF. Because you see,
how can we do that? And how can you, because you are members of parliament, how can you, members of parliament, ensure that Ghana is not getting a raw deal?
Well, it's a little too late in the day, unfortunately, for us to get the best deal from this engagement, because we have waited too long and we are having to engage the IMF clearly from a position of weakness without any prior planning.
Better late than never.
I agree, but I'm saying that we need to acknowledge the fact that it's a little too late for us to
Our
get
leverage
the
is
best
less.
out of the, exactly.
We don't have that
of this
much
engagement.
leverage.
The last time we went, the government of the day had the time to call on experts from all
we still have
sides. The political divide, the Royal Senchi,
we still have the
consensus.
We still have to.
That developed a blueprint called the homegrown solutions. Largely, the blueprint that came from Royal Senchi was what the IMF adopted, and it is online. I mean, forget about the propaganda about job freezes and all of that. If you go online and read the agreement between Ghana and the IMF, then you will not find those things. But there was that propaganda around it. So the previous government had that time to prepare a blueprint to engage the IMF constructively, and that led to the benefits that we all saw, which by 2016 showed that, according to the experts, by 2017, our economy, they predicted, was going to grow by about 9% of GDP. It was clearly predicted even before 2017, even before the new government came into office. Then you also had inflation rate, coming down and pointing further down. You had interest rate started coming down and pointing further down. All the macro, indicators that the NPP came to celebrate, showed signs of progress as a result of that preparedness that led to a constructive engagement with the IMF. In this case, unfortunately, we are being stampeded, like I think Dr. Bokwin puts it correctly. Instead of walking to the IMF, we are going there in an ambulance. And so it's very difficult for us at this point as members of parliament to contribute, because these discussions are currently being held with the executive, being the finance minister and the team.
It's still about enhanced domestic program, which means these are programs that we are taking to the IMF. And therefore, you can still have a say.
Yes, so exactly. I mean, we definitely will have a say. I mean, so we are hoping that whatever is being discussed with the IMF behind, closed doors now, because the discussions are held with the executive, will eventually be made available to members of parliament to contribute to. Obviously, whatever agreement is, reached will be brought to parliament for parliament to approve and to discuss it. And I'm sure it's at that point that we can make contributions. But again, even though we are being stampeded, I will suggest, for example, that maybe the finance ministry, the presidency should begin to reach out to the finance committee if they cannot even engage the whole of parliament. The finance committee is made up of members of the NDC and the NPP, and it has one of the finest brains when it comes to the understanding of our economy, and also brains with experience, because you have Atufos in there who has worked at the finance ministry as deputy finance minister, in charge of big portfolios. You have Isaac Adongo there, very, very good consultant. Over the years has worked in government circles, consulting for a lot of private and public firms.
The chairman himself is
and the chairman himself is immediate past deputy minister of finance. So they have the experience, they have the brains. You have John Jinapor there,
former banker,
brilliant, finance and
Stephen Amwa, Dr. Stephen.
So they should engage. They shouldn't wait to finish. They shouldn't wait to finish their discussion with the IMF before they introduce Parliament into it. I think they should.
And I think even IMF itself will make that recommendation.
They do. I mean, I know that they have an arrangement where they.
But gentlemen, I want us to still with the IMF. If you look at the number of times we've been to the IMF and the fact that we still have to go back to them, a lot of us do agree that going to them is not sustainable.
Why so?
Because you would have to run to them almost all the time.
No.
But how can we build our economy such that it wouldn't be for us to be running to the IMF in ambulances? How can't we do that? Are we saying that we cannot develop our economy without the IMF?
So let me say this. The world is so interconnected. And I always say this largely. Listen, America runs on loans. Even that big economy runs on loans. And if you want to expand, you need some loan facilities. And IMF is one of the organizations that will give you one of the best interest rates. So then you are not necessarily, forced, but it's the best alternative. So as we stand, we went to the market after IMF. And the market interest rates are different than what IMF would give you. And the market will also push you to do things that are very bold, and that is where we are now. And I think that the IMF is one of the alternatives.
Yeah.
But
we won't stay with.
We went to the IMF to withdraw some funds that didn't come with the sort of conditionalities that this program will come with. Is that not true? That you can go to the IMF to take some facilities that won't come with conditionalities. This one will come with it because your economy is ailing. And I'm asking, that can we develop our economy such that, yes, we can go to the IMF for loans that will not come with conditionalities because our economy will be doing better. Can we build an economy like that?
Listen, the likes of Germany after World War II were blessed with, a huge facility, which was called the Marshall Plan. We haven't had our Marshall Plan. The likes of Ukraine, even now, as you know, America has channeled a lot of resources to Ukraine to keep them afloat. We haven't had that, even with quote-unquote COVID. Looking at the direct expenditure for COVID care alone, I wouldn't say that it was sufficient, what came in. I mean, per what I'm seeing on the surface. So I really think that, one, it's unfortunate we don't have our Marshall Plan as a country. And then secondly, we have an issue with population growth, which other countries do not have. The Western world actually has the reverse, where they are not growing at an appreciable rate. People are giving birth to just one or two, and the reverse is here. We have, a huge home, and our population growth is not keeping at pace with our, economic growth, and that is why we are in this quagmire. And these are some of the hard facts that we have to appreciate, or else, if we don't put control measures or expand appropriately with the increasing growth of our population, where the needs for amenities are huge. I mean, if we look at GNPC, for instance, and what they've spent on toilets alone, you'd be surprised. I mean, and that is largely because of the population increment, or even classroom blocks. So we are burdening government at a faster rate than our economy can hold.
I also think that we need to be very real with ourselves. It's not just, I agree with you that population is, a very big issue, not just for Ghana, but in Africa, dealing with our population growth vis-a-vis,
government
resources and the need to provide for it. It's a big problem. I am aware of that. But we also, as a people, especially sometimes when we experience a boom in our economy, tend to be very reckless.
It's youthful exuberance.
And so for you cannot, I mean, the president of today cannot be described as a
youthful exuberance in terms of economic terms.
Okay.
The country is a young democracy.
The 17 times that we have been, what you notice is that we always experience a boom and then a dip, a boom and a dip, a boom and a dip. So what happens? What do we do to get the boom? Why are we not able to sustain what we do to get the boom? Because every time we engage the IMF, our sovereign, rating improves. Our debt to GDP, gets better. Our physical, space increases. But what do we do with that afterwards? We go into town and we start engaging in very reckless expenditure.
I think you ought to qualify your recklessness a bit, because I think that, one, and this is where I differ. The loans.
How must he qualify? Because you see, in 2010, when we started the oil production, it brought in a lot of revenue, and the thought was that we're going to use that revenue to change our path so that we don't run back to the IMF crying again. But what did we do? Like he said, we engaged in recklessness.
I'll give you. Let me continue and give you examples. Let me continue and give you examples.
The health facilities we are building are not reckless. The schools we are building are not reckless.
No. You see, I agree with you that those are not reckless.
But how much how much are we building?
The way you even do it. But let me even bring it home. Let me bring it home. You
the
talked about
education we're given.
You talked about 2010. You know, by 2011, we were the fastest growing economy when we posted. Yes, one of the fastest growing economies when we posted about 14%, of GDP. I mean, that was unprecedented, and it still remains unprecedented under the NDC and under any government, at least under the Fourth Republic. It's unprecedented. Now, what did we do? We saddled ourselves with a policy that led to the doubling of salaries of public sector workers, known as what? Single spine.
But it was
now, wait. Now, that was supposed to be tied to productivity. As we speak today, we have not tied that in.
Because of malaria?
No. So we engage in a policy that was supposed, again, by our predictions, to be revenue neutral. The increment was not to affect the revenue that we were generating. In the course of the implementation, we realized that it was not revenue neutral. Again, instead of putting in structures that will measure productivity and increase productivity, today, if you speak to the Fair Wages and Salaries Commission, they will tell you that they still have not finished that component of factoring in productivity in determining public sector salaries. Now, that is what led to us, mobilizing so much just to pay ourselves. And President Mahama had to make the point by 2014 that, look, because of the implementation of single spine, we have all chopped the meat to the bone. That was the purpose of that statement. That was again spin out as if to suggest that the government had chopped the meat to the bone. And he said, because we all agreed to pay our public sector workers, fairly, we have chopped all the money. And so let's all sit together and think of how we can raise more and also get productivity from people. It was the beginning of the idea behind the Royal Senchi consensus. Then we got, unfortunately, around that same time, hit by a colonial, let me put it that way, dumso. I call it colonial because every time we were warned by the experts that the dumso were getting gradually under Rawlings, the one we had gradually under Kufuor, the one we had gradually under Mills, was going to get worse if we did not put in the right investments. So they kept warning us, but we kept managing it and massaging it and pushing the problem forward until it came to the doorstep of President Mahama as president and crashed on his hands. But being the leader that he was, he said, I will fix this. I will not manage it. You remember President Kufuor managed it with toy machines. It was Charles Wekubrobe who described them as toy machines, just brought in some things to stabilize the power. And so he had to do the heavy lifting of investing to deal with the financial problem that the sector was faced with. Yes, to deal with the fuel pressure problem. You remember the West African gas pipeline? When I was a journalist, I don't remember the number of times we had to report on how the West Africa gas pipeline has been hit by, pirates, and so gas couldn't flow, and so our plants couldn't function, and because of that, power rationing had to come. We had to invest in the Ghana gas infrastructure to secure and guarantee our own gas. That's why you may not have problems with too much.
Honorable,
I'm saying that these investments, if we had continued in that manner, I mean, these are the sort of investments that you do that one, they pay for themselves, and they also give you a certain guarantee of independence, financial independence, so to speak. But when you invest in I'm sorry, but
I said, give me an example.
When you make cathedrals the priority of priorities,
well, that is the most
priority
newest.
of priorities.
But then, I mean,
it just tells you.
So that's the one reckless thing you are saying.
But there are several reckless ones.
The facilities, the roads are important.
This one is the icing on all the records.
On the cake, yeah.
On the cake of recklessness.
I want you to give us suggestions. I mean, your suggestions, 2, 3 of them. We want to build an economy that is not reliant on the IMF. When I hear you, it looks like it's not something we can do. But
in the interim, I mean, in the foreseeable 10, 15 years, it's not going to be possible.
We cannot.
I don't think so.
Build an economy that's not reliant on the IMF.
Listen, we toyed with the idea. Let me put it quite frankly. The finance minister toyed with the idea of Ghana running off IMF. And look at where we are. And I think that we're a baby economy, baby democratic institution. We have to face the reality. It takes time. These things that we see in other places.
So going forward, what would be a suggestion?
Well, I think that one, our president, has to, by all means, do some adjustments in terms of government expenditure. And that one, whether we like it or not, that's the reality. If the revenues are not coming, just like the shortfalls from, e-levy and all other governmental programs, which we were thinking would rake in some revenue. If it's not coming, without money, you can't do anything. So clearly, our president, Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo, without a doubt, has to cut somewhere, and that will be a choice he makes as a president.
So you can suggest where he has.
Well, I mean, one of the glaring things, which I doubt. I mean, I've always been of the opinion that maybe 16 district hospitals would be appropriate, which then will reduce government expenditure. So instead of 111, we have 16 regions now. We can do 16. So that is one such option. I don't know how possible it is to cut because the winds have, the ship has taken sail already. And I don't know all the new, in-depth deals that have gone on. But I think that is one. Now, some have also suggested that we revisit the free SHS program, where certain things can be offloaded back to the parents. And what I mean by that is that maybe the meals aspect, because that's a huge chunk. Granted that some students struggle with a meal on their table before lectures. So that these are some of the difficult decisions that we all, political, all stakeholders, including the people of Ghana, have to come to terms with. And I think that in one of my write-ups, I state that the IMF is going to put us all in check, even our citizenry, because there's that perception that government is supposed to be offering everything for free. And that one key thing in economics, there are no free meals. Whatever you're thinking and hoping for free, somebody is paying for that. And I think our attitude as Ghanaians ought to be looked at. We literally feel very entitled. But then the Westerners, they wake up, they are born to note one key thing, that you pay for what you want. Okay. And I think that as we sit in our plush cars or trotros and the roads are bad, we have to come to terms with the fact that if we want good roads, if we want electricity to be on, if we want water to be running, we need to pay our fair share. Okay. And that is the mantra. That thing has to be imbibed in us, whether NDC, MPP, CPP, whatever our creed is, even religiously, so that we change that mindset to being part of improving our development. And until that is done,
Doc makes a very good point about cutting down on expenditure. But I mean, there are those who you can say are cynical, and they say, how do you cut what you don't have? I mean, already the revenue is not coming in. And so when the government says that I'm cutting down on expenditure by 30%, it's as if they have the money to spend, and so they are cutting down. In fact, whether you announce the cut or not, you can't spend it because you don't even have the money in the first place. Mm-hmm. Now, the problem I have with some of these announcements of investments into health and others.
Railroads.
Is sometimes the lack of transparency around the engagements are done. Now, lack of transparency leads to, and you can forgive me to think so, losses that are needless. For example, if you go to the La General Hospital, it was saving lives, delivering babies, and bringing in at least some revenue. Today is a rubble. What kind of thinking went into it? It's a rubble. Please,
work in progress.
Go there and see. It's a rubble for over a year now. It's been so. Now, what kind of planning and engagements went into it? Let me wrap up on that. What you and I can agree on is that it costs something. Some people have chopped some money there. But the hospital is no more. Go to trade fair. It's a rubble. What is happening with trade fair?
No, I thought...
And yet, it has been pulled down, and I'm sure some monies have exchanged hands, whether legally or illegally. Some people have made some money, but trade fair is a rubble. You talk about Agenda 111. You recall the issue the ranking member was raising about $34 million or so in the budget that could not be accounted for. Yet, we are on platform singing Agenda 111, and we do not even have any construction going on.
There's construction.
I mean, some kind of work at the various sites.
That's why he's saying that we should cut them down.
But I'm saying that some of these things don't even give you the assurance that there will be some waste checked.
We need to move on.
So is it 16 district hospitals as opposed to 111?
Well, I to some extent I agree with you. I mean, we would not even be here if the president had kept his promise of ensuring that districts without, hospitals, were going to get districts. Because that was the initial promise before even COVID hit.
Okay.
He got reminded by it only when COVID hit. And then increased
thank you very much.
To 98 and now to 111 and just populism.
Okay, let's do with your own house. Sarah Joseph was supposed to appear before the Privilege Committee. She failed to appear. Now, what's next?
I was there yesterday in support of my regional minister, and Honorable Henry Korte did very well in explaining and also seeking forgiveness. There's one thing that we've all learned: we ought to document or make sure that there's a report of whatever we do, because clearly Parliament was fully aware that he had an ill health issue, but it was not documented, and that is why he landed there. With regards to Honorable Adjoa Safo, she's my senior colleague. I would prefer not to comment on that.
Why wouldn't you? Your constituent would want you to represent them, and they are not happy with how things are going.
As it stands now, I think that it's not supposed to be guilty before proven, and at the point in time, I've not heard her side of the story. So I think that the jury is still out there. We need to still...
She gave her side of the story on Joy News.
Joy News is not Parliament. It's not under oath. You understand?
But will it be different from what she would tell
it could be. It could be. So under oath, what she says is what I would, on a personal note, be able to comment about. Joy News isn't Parliament.
All right.
And it's not Privileges Committee. So I think we'll wait to see. But clearly, hers is also bordering on health, and what is good for the gander is good for the geese as well. So I would hope that if on health grounds, Honorable Ken and Honorable Henry will be relieved, then I think the same thing will be extended to her.
But has there been a conclusion that those two are being relieved?
If. I said if.
Honorable.
Well, of the three, I think the one I sympathize with the most is Henry Korte. I mean, he's a fantastic gentleman. Tend to have his focus right on, some of the things that he embarks on, either on behalf of his government or his constituents.
Thank you very much.
He's a fantastic, guy and very committed to his work. So, and I'm also aware, because around that time, we did see how sometimes he had to struggle to come, to Parliament. I remember when a government, using shenanigans on and off the book, tried to pass the e-levy. It was such a difficult time for some of them, I recall. And,
even the NDC.
Yeah, well, but for more on your side. Yeah. But so he's the one I sympathize with the most. And I acknowledge the point that Doc makes about how sometimes we can take certain things for granted because we assume that everybody knows that I'm not well, I'm going for treatment, and so even if I do not indicate in the House using the right procedure to, cause the information to be circulated, I can be excused.
And you
so
see,
he's the one I sympathize with.
There's one other thing, let me say it here.
Yeah.
We are unfair to parliamentarians or some public office holders when it comes to their health details and how we spend them. And let me just use this to say that, he said it painfully, that his health has been toyed with. People sometimes claim he's in coma when it's not the case. So he was very particular about sharing his health, status with people because, the likes of, the propagandists spin stories about his health. And I think that these are things that the media houses also need to look at. Because there were instances where
your own
some media houses
say that even if it's your health and you want to absent yourself, you need to get permission.
Exactly.
And so if you don't have that permission, it's not something that
a case where
we should sympathize with you because you
I don't think that. I don't think it's a good excuse.
I'm not saying it's an excuse, but I'm just saying that
I like the part that
aspect
we all sometimes take it for granted. I'm traveling to my constituency, and my intention is that I'll be back before the day ends, and so I do not even feel the absence form. And then I go and maybe something happens and I have to sleep over. Emergency, I have to sleep over. I'll be marked absent when I could have simply filled, an absence form that will capture
and
me.
Sometimes
so we take things for granted because with his ill health, he could have still, just written to the speaker, and that would have been between him and the speaker. And the speaker would have granted him the extension of time that he needed. So let's not go into the spin and the propaganda.
But I think we ought to change.
But I think that it comes with the territory.
But if you ought to
that your opponent,
why don't you rather make develop a procedure or something that would, like in the case of Ajosafo, if you think that the case would make you absent yourself from Parliament for, say, 6 months and over, you have to relinquish your seat. And then it's declared vacant. Can't that be a
solution? This is a different situation.
It's a different situation. Yes, that's why the rules say that when you absent yourself 14 days, 15 days without any justifiable reason, your seat should be declared vacant.
Yes,
so you are even talking about 6 months. But the rule says 15 days without justifiable explanation, within a session, your seat should be declared vacant.
But like he is saying, like many other people are saying, Sarah Josafo says that it's because of health grounds. That's why I'm away. She's been away for how many?
Well, many judges have also experienced this, and the populist people, or let me say, have not come after.
Listen. Yeah, but what I'm saying, there's still room for it. If you look at the Constitution, and I can't remember the law that I saw, the particular legislation that I saw, that also talks about how to remove members of Parliament. The constituents can actually bring a petition to the Speaker, demanding that she be, removed from Parliament. They can do that through the party. It is permitted. So you don't even have to vacate your seat for 6 months. If you go on health grounds and the constituents feel that your health situation is such that you can no longer represent them or give them the best representation, they can actually bring a petition before the Speaker, and the Speaker will table it for the House to take a decision.
How is that petition brought? You said through
the party.
But if I send it to the party and the party doesn't bring it,
that is where the challenge is, because the party sponsors people to stand elections. You understand? So, whatever you do must go through the party. But I think that any party will be foolhardy to ignore a petition coming from majority of constituents demanding that a particular member of Parliament be removed.
Right.
So I go back to the point that Henry Cortez, the one among the three that I sympathize with.
Okay.
As for Sarah Adwoa-Safo, my position on her is clear. Mm-hmm. In fact, I do not think that the executive has conducted itself well, because Sarah Adwoa-Safo is not just a legislator. A legislator. She's more than that. Doc and I are legislators. You understand? But Adwoa-Safo is a member of the executive. Mm-hmm. In fact, a cabinet portfolio is under her care. Mm. And if the leader of the executive, looks on whilst her important appointee, like Sarah Adwoa-Safo, is a wall,
there's somebody acting at the moment.
Come on.
So keep that in mind.
That's just. We are talking about the gender ministry, mm-hmm. a ministry for the vulnerable, and you're talking about a period where we are coming out of COVID, and that situation with Russia, Ukraine has created more vulnerabilities in our society, and the minister responsible for that sector
missing in action.
Is missing completely in action, and the president who appointed her,
gentlemen,
is impotent, unable to act on this matter, and we all just look on as if it's fine.
There's working.
I think that we must demand that the president fires her. Mm. That's the list that he can do of all the weaknesses, all the impotency that he has shown on many matters. This is the list. Just ask the chief of staff to draft a letter relieving Adwoa-Safo of her post. Simple.
Okay.
The list, if he can't fire the finance minister, cannot do a reshuffle. This is the list.
Okay.
Then when that is done, I will now encourage the legislature to also take action.
Okay.
But until that is done, I think we are engaged in much ado about nothing.
Gentlemen, let me still take you back to the IMF, because the news we are getting from the BBC is that Boris Johnson will be stepping down as leader of the Conservative, because recently there have been some huge number of resignations that has hit him. So he'll be stepping down as leader. Now, in that regard, with that example, because we say our parents are the British.
But our parents are not taking care of it. They are not.
That's
in that regard,
that's the excuse.
With the several calls that have come on the finance minister to step down, shouldn't he take that action by him stepping down to say that, look, I think that I didn't even believe in the IMF thing in the first place. We've gone there, and I don't want to stay on to see the country through this period.
That's a decision that should be left for him. And I think that if I was in that situation, it's highly likely I would resign. That is me, and I think that culture is not very much Ghanaian at the moment. We're not used to resigning. There's this phrase, till the wheels fall off. And I think that is become an African thing where it's almost till the wheels fall off. But I think that it might be a gentleman thing to do, per where we are now, and even on health grounds. I think that just on health grounds, per what I know and have heard, some rest would do for him some good. And I don't know. It's a very difficult decision to make either way, but I think that if I was in that situation, highly likely I would let new ideas, a new mindset come to look at the matters at hand, and to stay aback and maybe be in the advisorial role more so than being actively involved. But that's just my opinion, not the party, not the government's opinion. Yeah.
Alhassan.
Well, I agree with you. I'm not surprised about what has happened to Boris Johnson. The writing was clearly on the wall. He's an interesting politician, though one that I have studied. You know, I just have taken the pain to, you know, read so much about him. So I'm not surprised that this has happened. But I agree again with Doc that, look, that kind of attitude and conduct is short in supply in Africa, especially in Ghana. And sometimes you wonder if you can blame the people, you know, in position entirely for that kind of attitude. We have seen how people, in taking such decisions, when they do, get ridiculed, you know, and put down and never given, you know, an opportunity. I remember when the late, may her soul rest in peace, Jafar Tivo, for example, decided to step aside as a result of the bus Brandon, which, by the way, was just 3 million Ghana cedis. Can you imagine the millions that are flying around these days and nobody is held accountable for it? I mean, she decided to step aside. She was not given roses for taking that decision. In fact, it was rather seen as, you know, evidence of how corrupt the government of the day was and all of that. So some of these things don't encourage. I mean, the administration, for example, could have been seen as one that is purging itself, you know, of wrongdoings, being responsible. When was the name Victoria Hammer talked about how she is thinking of making $1 million. Okay. I mean, a very innocent statement. Who doesn't want to be rich? I mean, if you are doing it the legal way. But it became a crime and she had to be fired from her post. As a result of getting fired, the administration, John Mahama, didn't get roses and get praise for, you know, trying to ensure some discipline in his government. He was rather ridiculed and insulted and made to look like, you know, that is evidence of the corruption. So sometimes you don't know who to blame for the lack of such attitude in our body politics. But it is in short supply around here. And I believe that the finance ministers, you know, the finance minister has he has overstayed his welcome. I mean, he shouldn't have even been part of the second, you know, administration of Nana Akufo-Addo. But God, you know this government. This is cousin, for crying out loud. And we know what, you know, family means to the president and the people around him. And so he had to, you know, even grandfathered. You remember his vetting and the whole process. The Parliament of Ghana's committee had to wait for him, you know, to be grandfathered, to meet the committee, to be vetted and all that. So,
but that was on health grounds.
Well, but I'm saying, anyway, was he the only one capable?
That's fine.
When he shouldn't have even been part of the second team. You had to do all of this to make it possible for him to still be part of the second team. Now he has taken us to the ditch. He simply doesn't have the credibility.
IMF is not a ditch.
The former president has called many times for the president to fire him. He's unable to fire him. But let me give you information that may be useful.
Okay.
Look, some of us in Parliament have begun talking about perhaps helping the president because it is clear that he's impotent. He's unable to do
Why do you use the word impotent?
Yeah, I am choosing that word deliberately, especially when it relates to Ajua Sarah Safu. But I'm saying that clearly, the man has demonstrated a lot of impotence when it comes to carrying out his job as president. So some of us in Parliament have begun the talk of possibly bringing the finance minister to a vote of no confidence. Some of us have started talking, and we just hope that leadership will endorse this, and a vote of censure will be called on the finance minister. He cannot simply be leading us at this very critical time when he is one of the people you can hold responsible the most for the crisis that we are going through.
Interesting. So a vote of no confidence is due to.
If we could add the vice president, we would have. But
is due to come up.
He's the economic management leader.
That's not possible.
Let's see. If we don't say we could, because the constitution doesn't allow how that. But the finance minister we are discussing.
Let's see how that goes. So it means that we should expect a vote of no confidence.
Possibly, especially if we get the support of a majority of members. We will table the vote of censure on the finance minister.
Okay.
The Parliament of Ghana must do the job that the president is unable to do on behalf of the people of Ghana.
All right. Thank you very much. Our time is up. But I'll just give you 2 minutes to get your thought on the strike that has hit the education sector. They are calling for government to give them what they call the cost of living allowance. Let me start with you, Al-Hassan.
I think it is absolutely necessary that the government does that, and I commend the workers' union for being very proactive. I think they saw the danger when government started thinking about going to the IMF, because one of the things you are going to expect the IMF to tell the government to do is to freeze, wage increases. I mean, it's almost always the first thing you will get. Freeze wage increases, maybe freeze some employment in the public sector, apart from replacements. I mean, those are some of the things that you will always get, especially because you have a situation where your revenue is not meeting your expenditure. So they are going to advocate for some cuts. So the workers hit, a little too late in the day, but the timing is right.
They are warning that government
exactly.
does not accept.
As the IMF is negotiating, they must also be hearing that the workers that they are counting on to bring about increase in revenue and increase in productivity as a result are saying that they need more. And clearly, I mean, everybody's economy has been hit badly. And we unfortunately all have to still buy from the same market and at the exorbitant prices that goods are being sold. Sometimes these days you are not even able to predict the price. You buy something in the morning and you are not certain if you get it at the same price the next morning. So it is long overdue. The cost of living allowance, known as COLA, must be given, because clearly the cost of living...
Not Coca-Cola.
Not Coca-Cola. The cost of living has just gone off, out of everybody's control, and they deserve it. I mean, government must find a way. The problem with the government is when they say they are not able to, fund such very critical needs in our lives. Like when the TUC talked about reduction in fuel prices on May Day, and the president was quick to say no, he will leave losing about 4 billion if they reduce the taxes. They reduce the taxes on fuel and all of that. But then the next moment, people see, payment notices, transferring 20-something million to one person who just draws a church, just the act, and then he wants COLA. He wants COLA. Cost of living has gone high. He just wants something small to be able to pay for his child's school fees and feed his children. And then you tell him there's no money, and he said, okay, maybe the country is hard, there's no money. Then he sees the news, 23 million for someone who has painted a church.
No, he didn't just paint.
I mean,
he didn't just paint.
But that's how the person is going to see it.
No, but
then he sees 100 and something million for the president flying around the world, and then the presidential jet is packed. And when you say, oh, he must travel in luxury, he is president. And I'm like, my child who I just want to pay.
We didn't say luxury, we said health.
I mean, so the kind of things that the government does makes it difficult for them to even engage these people and convince them that things are really hard for them to, and they are not able to meet some of these demands. I think that cost of living must be given. How much I am unable to tell, but COLA is an imperative at this stage.
Okay,
So I think that the key thing is money is fungible. And what I mean by that is maybe the NPP came and then gave teacher allowances, but not necessarily improving the cost of living allowances. But really, at the end of the day, the NPP government has been very considerate in terms of the welfare of the teachers. And I think that, there's also even this arrangement for laptops for them. I mean, if I can come in, what I'm saying is that they may not have this direct cost of living allowance, but there are things that add up to, incentives that add up to their wellness.
No, but
and that should be considered.
The laptop won't buy fuel for him.
No, they would have maybe have to take their own money to buy the laptop.
But they are still paying.
The laptop, they are paying for it.
It's through another facility.
Yes.
So my key point
But these are monies that would have come to them.
It is almost like, instead of giving you rent, giving you a place to live, it still improves your wellness. And that is what I'm trying to get at. That government might not necessarily give you cash, but will give you the amenities which you'd have had to spend monies on. So I really think that the NPP may not have given them direct cash, but has at least given consideration to allowances that were scrapped at some point, which he knows, which he can't deny.
Which is a reckless thing to reintroduce, completely reckless.
Well, but it added to their wellness.
It is a reason why
that is why I'm saying that
such, populous.
So what is so clear is the fact that, like I said, money is fungible. The allowances that were given them,
and that's the point we used
does
to
not fall under cost of living
allowance. The nurses recently were demonstrating.
To make your point.
You saw the nurses. They were demonstrating recently. It's not as if they didn't get allowance in school. You pay them allowances in school. What's the use of the allowance they chop in school when they come out and they can't get a job? Because you have used all the money that you would have used to pay them for life to give them allowance for 3 years.
The key point here is that what I'm trying to arrive at is that their welfare has been sorted out or supported in a different way, not necessarily through the cost of living allowance, which is the COLA we are talking about, but at least the NPP has given them some
teachers
cushion.
Who cannot meet their daily needs should be grateful that training teachers are getting allowance.
So, Doc, will you advise government to honor the request by these teachers? Because
I think that the truthfulness now, or what is very clear, is that really government didn't have the means, and that is why they were not at the table to then offer them these additional benefits. That is what is the fact now, because if they had, we would not be with IMF. So teachers should give consideration to government, because what is so clear now is that the chest or the kitty is not as full, is maybe half empty. And on that note,
they are citing how much government or the executive had increased its salaries, and they say that if you did by this much, and we are having to endure the brunt of
that misnomer, and I beg to differ. I always say that teachers should be guided in the fact that government or the president's increment was not his salary. But then other agencies were brought into the executive for like the CODA, like also NAPCO, like ambulance services, which I think eventually with IMF coming maybe will be returned to the appropriate ministry. So for instance, CODA might go to state housing, works and housing, sorry. Okay. Ambulances would go to Ministry of Health, So these, and then right away, that will drop the president's budget.
So the solution is some ministries, do you think?
No. Listen, these are governmental flagship programs that were absorbed, like the IPEP, what was it? Is it IPEP? The one now? Yeah. All of these things should go to the appropriate ministries. Okay. And that will then drop the apparent bloat in the president's budget. Okay. So it isn't salary of the president that was increased, but then the expenditures of government at the executive increased because of the absorption of these people.
But their salaries were increased.
Their salaries were increased. The staff size has almost tripled.
The staff size is because of these programs that have gone.
No, the presidential staff.
Zongo development is there now.
Presidential staffers and all of those have almost tripled.
Salaries were increased. That's a fact.
Per every year there's an agreed
Yes, but that's what the teachers were saying, that you increase yours by this much and increase ours by this much. And it's not commensurate with the sort of inflation we're enduring.
Well, he says that they are paying teacher allowance, so they should be grateful.
No.
That's what he said.
I'm saying that there's been some
teacher allowance, so
contributions. And I also added rental arrangements. I added that too. Facilities have been created for teacher housing, which through works and state housing.
Are they enjoying it now?
Well, investments
is there now.
It's just
okay. Fuel prices are high. Cost of
Well, this is affecting me too.
Exactly.
True,
That's it. No, but you are entitled to your request. You can go there and tell the president,
Maybe
well,
we should
you
also
have to
begin to
exactly.
because we don't
they
even know
are feeling the pain,
conditions
so they have requested. You can also request as
and that is serious.
So. We also need
now with IMF.
Anyway,
if it was 10, now it will be maybe 5. We're in trouble.
On that note, thank you so much, gentlemen, for coming.
A pleasure. Thanks
for hosting
Dr. Dixon Adomaku Kisi is MP for Anya Sotom, and Al Hassan Sohini is MP for Tamale North. Well, after the break, we have a chat with the General Secretary of the Ghana National Association of Teachers. We'll take a quick break. When we return, we'll bring you much more on the AM show. Stay with us. All right, so welcome back to the AM show here on Joy News. Let's talk about the striking teachers, and we've been joined on the line by Thomas Musa, who is the General Secretary of the Ghana National Association of Teachers. He is with us on Zoom. So Musa, thank you so much for agreeing to speak to us. You are still, calling for something that looks unlikely that government can provide, because now we are around the table with IMF to look for a bailout. That tells you that government doesn't have the revenue. How does that play into your request for the payment of COLA?
Well, thank you. Good morning to your good self and to all the viewers. Yesterday we met. I think the assertion that that is unlikely and no money among other things, I think we are not aware of that one. We have engaged, and our engagement predates the coming of the IMF. And so to the extent that it predates the coming of IMF, we stand where we stand. And we believe that all the items, if there is anything that government wants to table, it will come to the table. But for now, at yesterday's meeting, it ended in a deadlock. Then we all agree that a new date will be scheduled. And when a new date is scheduled, the same will be communicated by government to the side of organized labor, and we will meet and take it out from there. That is what is on the table. Any other thing that all the issues you are talking about did not come up at the table. So nothing has changed. We stand where we are now.
So at the table, what was tabled from government?
Exactly. These are the old issues, begging and saying that or pleading with us and all that. And we said that, look, as far back as February, we started raising concerns, articulating what must be done, among other things. It didn't work out. First May at the Independence Square during the May parade, Dr. Yalba articulated clearly the issues and concerns of the working population. And it came up that there was a need for some kind of COLA to be paid of 20%. All these things were articulated, nothing happened. Then we served notice. And this time it was not even the national leaders, but it was across the district, the regions and all that. They all started the agitation. That look, by the close of June, we expect appropriate response from the government. All these things didn't happen. No positive results came out. And so that has brought us where we are today, and that we have to embark on this industrial action. So that is where we are. And it is our hope and expectation that given the current environment and the economic hardship and depression that workers are enduring, something must be done to cushion them. Don't let us forget that in 2021, we made huge sacrifices, and in this particular year also, huge sacrifices were made. And so in the light of all these things, it has become necessary and critical that workers be cushioned.
But did government confirm to you that there's no money and that's why they came begging for you to rescind your decision?
Oh, normally when you engage in negotiation, you always expect that. You don't expect the other party come to tell you that I have more than enough. In every negotiation, even if you go to the market and you go to buy, it is always like that. That somebody will tell you, I don't have money and all those. So it is part of the negotiation or discussions. And so once that has come, I mean, it is not anything strange or anything that is not known in social dialogue. So it came up. But we made it clear to them that yes, it is their right, and it is also part of social dialogue for them to express those sentiments. But we made it clear to them that we are talking about the issues of human security here. People and people's ability to take care of their families, buy bread, buy food, pay at least their fuel, pay rent, shelter, and among other things. So to that extent, we are talking about the issues of human security, which is an integral part of national security. And to the extent that people are actually suffering and, I mean, under the current economic hardship, we think that something must be done for workers, given the kind of sacrifices they made as far back as 2021 and 2022.
What will convince teachers to soften your stance as it is now?
Oh, we've softened our stance already. Asking for 20% is not anything. Let me give you an example. You see, when we signed the 4% last year, and this year we signed the 7%, there is a clause in there called the wage opener or the wage opener clause. Now, the wage opener clause clearly states or makes it clear that, look, in times of economic difficulties, challenges, at which all the variables that we stood on to agree with the current arrangement, if the variables will change significantly, then we can come back to the table and trigger that particular clause. And once that particular clause is triggered, we ought to come back to the table and reopen the negotiation. But knowing very well the cost involved regarding the triggering of that particular clause, we went in for the COLA. And so we have weighed the two options and looking at everything, we said, look, 2023 also negotiations are around the corner. So let us go for the lesser one. And that was the path we took. That is the COLA. And so we believe that we've really come far and we've actually assessed the situation. And we think that for this particular year, let us go for the 20% COLA. And then we go and we stand upon it to negotiate the 2023 base pay. But let us all not forget that the Public Financial Management Act and negotiations were to be concluded by the month of April. Here we are in the month of July. It has not been done because it must be done so that these things will be factored into the budget. So that is why we are asking for COLA, so that of the 2023 negotiations can be done, and then we take it out from there.
Oh, that's right. But from what you tell us, it means that government has come to say that, look, things are tight now. That's why I wanted to find out from you, what at all can get you to soften your stance in the face of difficulties in government honoring your request? What can happen? Or is it that we're going to see you stay home until your request is granted?
Nobody enjoys staying home. It's simple. 20% COLA. I have difficulty paying my rent. I have difficulty paying TNT to go and teach. The bread I used to buy 8 Ghana cedis is now 15 Ghana cedis. Cement that I buy 39 Ghana cedis at the beginning of January, 30, 40 Ghana cedis. It now 66 Ghana cedis. Okay, my clothing and everything, the water I pay, utility and everything has changed. So all that I'm saying is that the amount of money, the 1,500 I saw, the 2,000 that I am paid, it is now half. So you will see me holding physical cash of 2,000, but in real terms, I am only holding 1,000 Ghana cedis. So the amount of goods and services I can buy buy last year and at the beginning of this particular year, that warranted us to go for that mega percentage increment on the base pay, that's all been eroded. That is where we are. So we are saying that kindly cushion the workers a bit, and we are asking for 20%. And I've indicated to you that is why we did not trigger the wage opener clause. and rather went in for COLA. So that is where we are. When the COLA is given, why not? We will go and do what we know best. Teach the children and let them become the doctors, lawyers, among other teachers and all that.
I've seen videos of children who are pleading with their teachers to have mercy. Will you ever at any point in this whole development tend to look at what the student or the pupils are telling you to say, okay, government is proving as though it is not able to honor it, but let's look at the children and revert. We know that some of them will be writing exams soon. Would there be any consideration like that? Or like you say, you're still standing your ground?
We have three parties to this. We have the teachers or workers, you have the government, and we have the parents. So now all the children. And as much as the children are also pleading, let us also tell the government. We have done our side of the story. We have actually, we have indicated our commitment to get the things done. And we have done them already. Look, we started as far back as February. We don't want to sound as if we just got up and we got to this particular place. No. We started sounding this as far back as February. Okay? And people might be thinking that, oh, nothing happened. We did not have any positive response among others, and we are here. So if one party has made all the commitment, one party has actually come out clearly to articulate the concerns and the current challenges confronting each member and what we need to all do to get it done, and then all these things fell on deaf ears. What else do you expect? So if we are here now, then the other party that was called upon as far back as February must give the favorable response, and you will take it out from there. This will not create any difficulty for anybody, so that we take it out from there. We are all hopeful that when we meet at the next meeting that we will be having, when they invite us, we will go, and we hope that something positive will be tabled, and we'll take it out from there, and we'll bring this matter to a close.
Interesting. As to when this matter will be brought to a close, we don't know. Let's see how it goes. But when is your next meeting?
Yes. Oh, as when it will come to a close, I think you can find out from government.
No, but I was only asking. You said you met yesterday. When is the next meeting?
Yes. Oh, yes. So we are waiting on the government side. We've told them when they call us in the morning, afternoon, evening, Saturday, Sunday, anytime, any day, they should let us have the invitation, and we will respond positively.
What if Labour Commission comes in to say, friends, you need to return? What will be your response?
The current position is that the Labour Commission has asked we dialogue. So we are dialoguing. And we don't expect the Labour Commission to come and do anything other than what they have said.
So now the Labour Commission has confirmed that your strike is illegal. What do you say? Because if it's illegal, then it has its own, repercussions. So what will be your response to what the Labour Commission has put out?
The letter we have from the Labour Commission is that we should go and we should engage, and we are engaging. We are not aware of all those things saying that it is illegal. The letter that the Labour Commission has written, based upon which that is also part on the more reason why we are engaging and dialoguing on the matters, and we met yesterday. So in the letter, engagement and the issue of social dialogue was, was the key thing that came up. And yesterday we met. As to the issue of all those things, we are not. We don't want to. Give attention to that for now. Now the main thing is that we have gone. We went there. We met the government side. We have all agreed now a new date to be scheduled, and when the date is scheduled, they will communicate same to us, and we'll meet. All other matters, we don't want to give attention to it now. We are focused on what we agreed on yesterday, and we think that at the next meeting, the government side will table something positive, and we'll take it out from there. But it's also very important that should anything happen should anything outside this happen from the Labour Commission, we will certainly respond appropriately. That one we can assure the Labour Commission. We will respond appropriately. But by the letter they wrote to us, they said we should go and engage. and we are engaging. If they bring any other letter than what we have now, we will rise to the occasion and will respond appropriately.
Okay. But do you strike while negotiating? Is that what the law says?
It is not about that one now. We have been up to dialogue, and we are doing that. That is where we are.
No, but what is the provision of the law in terms of you negotiating and striking?
That is where something brought us here. When we started talking about this thing as far back as February, why were people not talking about the law? Why is it that always it is our workers that we are being reminded about the law?
Okay.
The laws being made, the laws in Ghana, is it only for workers? I think we should all be equal before the law.
Sure.
One, the key principles of law is that it is equality.
Yeah.
We should all be equal before the law, regardless of who you are. You should be equal before the law. So if it so happens that the law discriminates against one party, certainly, okay, the law also gives that particular party the opportunity to actually fight for what he deserves. And that is what we are doing. So those also talking about the law, they should remember that the laws are not, we did not pay parliamentarians to go and enact laws that will bind only workers and exclude any other. Nobody will do that. The country Ghana is for all of us. Let us all be law abiding. So those who are saying that law, we started talking about this in February. Why were they talking about law? So the law, let us all be equal before the law, and then we'll take it out from there. So like we have said, the law also make rules that if you see that you're right or something that is going untowards, and it will not help you survive. And I've mentioned to you the issue of human security among other related matters. Yes, so it is within the same confines of the law that we are operating now. And we will be asked to go and dialogue. And we have done it. After all, Article 24, Clause 3 says that people join unions in order to fight for the economic and social right. And that is what we are doing. So we are engaging.
Okay.
We are engaging. And we know that next week, government will table something positive and we'll take it out from there.
All right. Thank you very much. Thomas Musa is the General Secretary of the Ghana National
God bless you.
Association of Teachers. This is still the AM show on Joy News. We'll take a quick break. There's more to share with you right after the break. Stay with us.
Good morning to you. It's 5 minutes after 9. It's still the AM show. I'm Bernice, Abu-Baidoo, Lansah. Grateful that you could join us this morning. In about a few seconds, I'll be having a conversation with some reps from DBS Industries Limited. And today we are talking about concrete roofs. Yes, you may have heard of so many products, but this time around we're talking about roofs that are made from concrete. James Kwawusenu is Sales and Marketing Manager for DBS Limited, and Kelvin Muzaya is Sales and Customer Services Manager. Thank you, gentlemen, for joining the program. Kelvin is on my immediate left, and James is on my farther left. Thank you. Let me start with you, Kelvin. So, like I said, when we hear DBS Limited, we all know that, it has to do with roofing, and we know the kind of products you've been selling over the years. But concrete, when did that start?
First of all, I'd like to say good morning, and thank you for having us. So, DBS Industries, well, as you mentioned earlier, we're known for our quality roofing products, but a little over a year ago, we decided to come out with concrete products, that's concrete blocks, and then ready-mix concrete as well. So, we prioritize where people put their heads and having a shelter over your head. Yes.
Interesting. So, what makes the concrete different from, I mean, apart from the whole mixture and everything, what are the benefits? I'm sure, yeah, that's what I'm trying to ask. What are the benefits of using
yes,
concrete?
So we're looking at efficiency. We have state-of-the-art machinery that we use to produce our concrete blocks. And we have silos as well that we use for our ready-mix concrete. And then these are of high quality, just like our roofing products as well. We, as I mentioned earlier, we prioritize quality first and foremost. We believe in getting value for money. So yeah, the quality in terms of our concrete, our blocks, pavements, curbs is top notch.
Okay, you've just mentioned a few of some of them, but let me come to you, James. So the roofing is what you're known for, but this time you're saying, you know, let's do something else. Let's produce stuff from concrete.
Yeah.
What are some of those things that you produce?
So for the concrete, we have the Supreme stone blocks. So for the Supreme stone blocks, you could have them in 5 inches and 6 inches, and you can have them as well in solid and hollow. And we have the Sanquet blocks. The Sanquet blocks, you can also have them in 5 inches and 6 inches, both in solid and hollow. And we also have the pavement curbs, whereby you want to floor your compound or your industry, you could use our pavement blocks, and so also have the pavement curbs as well.
So these are already made?
Yes, please.
Do they come in different designs, especially the pavement? So how does it work? Would I come to you and we go through a certain process, you show me the designs and stuff? Just run us through. So if someone is watching and saying that, oh, this is a good idea, I think I want to purchase from DBS, what's the process?
So I think if you want a design, we have a showroom on the Sprinters Road, whereby we have a lot of varieties, which comes in a lot of shapes. We have the interlock shape, we have the rectangular one, we have the triangular one, so a lot of shapes. So what we'll do is we'll go to your premises, get an estimate, then give you the quantity that you need to pave your compound.
Okay, so you come and do the assessment?
Yes, please.
At my facility?
Yes, please.
Oh, wow, that's interesting.
If you also have your area as well, we could use that to give you an estimate as well.
Okay,
yeah.
Great. So Kelvin, we've spoken about the varieties that exist, but let's talk about the quality, the strengths, the different types of pavement blocks.
Yeah, so for the pavement blocks, we have them in various thicknesses. We have the 60 mm and we have the 80 mm. And we also have the various classes as well, because as you know, if you are paving your compound, there are certain places that people just walk, and there are places that there are cars, heavy loads, walkways, markets, warehouses. So yes, we have the C20, C25, C30, C40 going on. So we look at, as you said, we come to your site, and then you give us information of what exactly you'll be using the space for, and then we recommend the type of pavements that you should use for that area. We also have them in various colors as well. We have the faced, because some of them want it to look, very nice. So some will say, maybe I want red, I want black, I want yellow. We also have them in various colors as well.
Also, tell us about your RMC.
Yeah, the RMC is the ready-mix concrete. That is what, in the past you have people on site mixing sand, cement. Yes, I feel like in order to be efficient, we know maybe the class of concrete you want. We have them in various classes, C10, C15, that's the light ones that you use for plastering and stuff like that. And then we have C25, C30, where they are heavy load. Yes. So once we know the type that you want, we already mix it at our factory, and then we transport it and then bring it straight to the site. So that's where you see the cars moving, and then they have the batch truck spinning. Yes, that is the ready-mix.
Ready-mix concrete. Great. So finally, in wrapping this up, James, you've mentioned your warehouse on the Spintex Road, but where else can we locate you, and how can we contact you?
Okay, just an add-on to what Kelvin just said. I think concrete are measured in volumes. So if you want an estimate, let's have your volumes, then we can give you an estimate based on that. So for location, we are off the Afienya Road, that's Shah Hills. That's where the block factory is. Okay. And for concrete, we are at Klagon.
Okay.
Yeah.
And I know for the roof, you're able, the roof products, you're able to transport to people and all that. This, as for the ready-mix concrete, yes, because of the kind of vehicle that would transport it, yes. But What about the pavement blocks and the other ones? Do you also have delivery services for that?
Yes, please, we do. And within Accra, it's free delivery.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, if you're purchasing within Accra, it's free delivery.
And when you say Accra, just so we are sure, is it the Greater Accra region or Accra? You have
Greater
your own
Accra.
Demarcations.
Greater Accra.
Greater Accra.
Yes.
Oh, that's interesting. So if you're thinking of getting some concrete products, just reach out to DBS. And so the number to call is 0501 672608, 0501 672608, or 0501 677 255. So, gentlemen, and let me come to you, Kelvin, for your final words. Why concrete, and why should we choose DBS if we want to use concrete?
Yeah, so the basic needs of people, first of all, you need a place to put your head, and you need a roof over your head. Especially in times like this where it's raining most of the time. It's quite unfortunate if you don't have a place or a safe place for you and your family. So I'll encourage people to come and then patronize our products. They are of high quality, and once you are doing something, I urge most of them to go for quality, do it once and for all, and wash your hands off it. Yes.
Great to have you here, gentlemen. Today we've been talking about DBS's concrete products. You know, they're known for roofing. Anytime you see DBS Industries, and they've done a lot of things with Joy News, mini programs, a habitat fair, and other things. So by now you should know DBS, and they're known for roofing. But this time round, they're selling their concrete products to you, and that's what James Kwawusen, who is on my father's left, Sales and Marketing Manager, and Kelvin Muzaya, Sales and Customer Services Manager, my immediate left, have been discussing with us this morning. Thank you, gentlemen, and we wish you all the best.
All right.
All right, so right now we will cross over to the Finance Ministry's Day 2 of government's negotiations with the IMF team. My colleague Blessed Suga is there for us, and he will be telling us exactly what to expect. We know that the first meeting happened yesterday. Today we are told that the Finance Minister is expected to meet the team. We'll find out from Blessed who he spotted and what he's able to report from the Ministry of Finance. Hello, Blessed. It's Day 2 of government's meeting with the team from the IMF. What are you able to tell us? What have you observed?
Bernice, as you do know, of course, the engagements started yesterday per the itinerary that we intercepted on Joy News. Obviously, there's a raft of engagements that started yesterday, which will continue throughout the 7-day period, as we're expecting that engagements with the IMF counterparts will be. But for today, we know that the focus will be on a number of issues relating to data reconciliation and other matters of interest to both parties. We need to indicate yesterday, as our presidential correspondent Elton Brobe pointed out, that of course there were engagements with the Vice President and his team, as well as other relevant stakeholders as part of the preparatory meetings for the International Monetary Fund austerity program. Now we are today stationed here at the Ministry of Finance, as you can see right here at the background. The engagements are expected to continue today with officials of the ministry. From the schedule that we have, we know that there will be talks on government's cuts in public expenditure. Obviously, that will be featuring on that table when, of course, the officials of the ministry engage the IMF. We also do know that there will be, for instance, the talk about grants and also issues relating to government's revenue measures. All of these issues will be featuring prominently when the engagement starts, as we're being told by that schedule. It may be starting in less than an hour from now, so you can expect that we'll be bringing you obviously some updates if indeed we do have them from the ministry. But these are the key issues on the table this morning, as officials of the Finance Ministry will be engaging that IMF delegation. We're not sure which of the revenue measures exactly will be on the table this morning, but from the indications we're getting, obviously the very latest ones that government has introduced, including the electronic transactions levy, all of these issues may come to the fore. Issues about subsidy and even government's own projection as well may also come up. You do know that Labour has been agitating for more pay it appears that issues relating to how much we are spending on some of these compensations and salaries and issues would also come up. Will there be obviously a call from the IMF parties that we slash on how we pay some of these amounts that normally take a lot of the significant portions of our revenue measures. All of these issues will be discussed shortly. Would definitely be keeping you updated on all that we have, and also providing you with bits and pieces of information that may be trickling in by the day, Bernice.
Joining us from the Ministry of Finance, just giving us an idea of what to expect on day 2 of government's engagement with the IMF. You're watching the AM show with me, Bernice, Abu-Baidoo, Lansah. And just so you know, breaking news we are receiving from British media is that the UK's Prime Minister, Boris Johnson, will be resigning anytime soon. And as you may be aware, 50 members, I beg your pardon, of his government have resigned in the last 48 hours, and many more in open revolt. And these resignations are as a result of what they say is their dwindling faith in his leadership after a series of scandals, with the latest involving an ally accused of improper sexual conduct. Now, you may remember that the UK's Prime Minister, there were issues concerning he holding a party during the COVID-19 pandemic and all that. And, well, members of his government say they've had it. 50 of them have resigned and many more in revolt. So we will be following what's happening in the UK and furnish you with the details that you need to know. But for now, this is what you need to know, that Boris Johnson is to resign as UK's Prime Minister. Well, let's come home. Hello, Ghana. Happy moment is here. The Storm World Cup Qatar 2022 with Storm Energy Drink, Puma Soft Drinks, and Awake Drinking Water from Casapreco Company Limited. Simply buy your favorite Storm Energy Drink, Puma Soft Drinks, and Awake Drinking Water and text the 4-digit unique number on the neck of the bottle to short code *780# option 2. Yes, *780# option 2, and follow the prompt on all networks for free. Be one of the lucky winners to this year's World Cup in the monthly draw. You can also win TVs, fridges, microwave ovens, mobile phones, home theaters, free drinks and more instantly. Don't waste time. Just grab a bottle of Storm Energy Drink, Puma Soft Drinks, and Awake Drinking Water, and let's storm Qatar this World Cup. This promotion is on the NLA Caritas platform, and this advert is FDA approved. Terms and conditions apply. Also, a person who is not required to register for VAT may voluntarily apply to be registered. A voluntary applicant shall be registered as a taxable person where the Commissioner General is satisfied that the person has a fixed place of abode or business, or reasonably believes that the person keeps proper accounting records related to any business activity carried on by that person, or the person submits regular and reliable tax returns, or the Commissioner General reasonably believes that the person is a fit and proper person to be registered. So there you have it by way of information for those of you who are considering to be registered on the VAT. Well, this is the AM show. We'll take a quick breather. When we come back, we will be bringing you more, plus take your comments on the major issues we've been discussing. Do stay. Thank you so much for staying on the AM show. It's 9:24 and we are just about to have a conversation with some old students of Kumasi Academy. Well, they call themselves Akunini Global. I'll let them explain what that means. But they've embarked on an ambitious project to build and present the biggest ultra-modern science laboratory in Ghana to their school. Now, the project started in January 2013. Well, it's been completed and will be officially commissioned and handed over to the administration of Kumasi Academy from the 8th to the 10th of July 2020. Is a whole celebration to just present this ultra-modern laboratory. So, in studio to talk more about this, I've got Okunini Ernest Enim. He's chairman of the planning committee. Good morning, Ernest.
Good morning.
And Okunini, I have to take my time when I say that. I'll run on my words. Okunini Hariboache, who is a member of the planning committee. Yeah. Thank you too for joining us. Okay, before we say anything, please, what does Okunini and Akunini mean? Let me start with you, Ernest.
Okay, so when we say Okunini or Akunini, so that's in English as academician. Okay, so we are academicians. So one single person is Okunini. So an academician, yes. So basically,
and
that's about.
This is Ashanti tree.
This is Ashanti tree. So in Ashanti, they call Akunini. Then the single person is Okunini. Yes.
This is the first time I'm hearing that word. So I needed to understand. And I'm sure a lot of you are just like me. Yeah. So let's talk about this project. Very beautiful facility that we are seeing just behind us in the shots there. Tell us, since 2013 till that's a very long time.
Yeah.
But the good news is that you've succeeded with your plan to build the biggest ultra-modern facility in any high school in Ghana.
Yeah.
Tell us how the dream started, Ernest.
Okay, so we pride ourselves in the fact that we've been able to achieve this, and we talk about it as the biggest, not in terms of the physical structure you see, but in terms of what we put in there. This project is over 8 million Ghana cedis, and it's not small money. And we have in there, we have smart board technology, we have robotics in there, we have various offices for teachers and everything. It's taken us 9 years to get to this point. This whole thing came about because back in the days, in the 50s and the 60s, Kumasi Academy, you know, we all know it's a Baptist school. It was formed by Baptist missionaries that came from America at the time. So we had the biggest laboratory in Kumasi at the time, back in the days, yes. Students from KNUST used to come over for their practicals and all that. And over the years, the population has grown, and we realized as past students that, okay, since we had the biggest project back then, we had the biggest science lab at the time. Now population has grown. At the time, student population was just about 100, 200, 300. But now currently we have a student population of about 3,000 and over. And we felt that, okay, we set the pace. We had the biggest at the time. So why don't we as past students come together? So under the leadership of our visionary president, our national president, we came up with the idea in 2013. We had wanted to do a sick bay for the school. We started the project. Then at the time, the member of parliament for the area, Honorable Muntaka Mubarak, decided that the assembly will take it up. So the assembly took up the sick bay. So as past students, we decided, why don't we go back and take back our glory? So we decided to go in for this ultra-modern, biggest lab in Ghana now. So.
Oh, you want to earn the bragging rights.
Oh yes. Yes. We know a lot of guys have questions about we tagging us as the biggest in Ghana. But what we want to say is that, okay, tomorrow is on the 8th. Saturday is on the 9th. On the 9th, we are commissioning this. Come to Kumasi, come to Askore-Mampong, come and witness it for yourself and compare it to what you have in your school, and you can now conclude and say whether it's the biggest or not. Yes.
You know, it's interesting in Ghana, schools like to fight over everything.
Yes.
Let me come to you, Harry. So, what, beyond the bragging rights, what do you hope to achieve with this laboratory?
You know, just like you said, it's not just about the physical infrastructure. We are talking about what is in there. We are talking about modern science equipment, not just any other thing. You know, the STEM project from the government, we are setting the pace for the government. This ultra-modern science laboratory is not going to serve only students in Kumasi Academy. Students around can come and do their practicals over there. And even the SHS, the JHS students can also come and have a feel of what it is to do science. You know, most students shy away from science. But with this facility, with this practical knowledge, it will encourage and boost a lot of students to enter into science. So the government STEM project is in the right direction as peace it is. So we hope that with this, even our position in the national and the NMS scale, we anticipate that within the next 2 years, we will definitely take the trophy. So we said pre-sec and all those age schools, beware. We are coming after them. We are coming.
This is very laudable, and considering the cost involved, how long it has taken you to achieve this, I mean, we cannot trivialize the effort that has been put into this. When I was in high school, we had a laboratory, but there were challenges with equipment, there were challenges with solutions, reagents, things to use in for our titration and all that. So
you did science, right?
No, I did that for integration science. So the big question, as a people, we have shown that we have a problem with maintenance. We have a problem with keeping things, you know, running. So you've left this here, you've built it, you hand it over to the school, but really, whose responsibility is it to maintain, and whose responsibility is it to ensure that the items that will need replacing, the items that will need maintenance, you know, are well catered?
Okay, so this is a very important question, and it's something that, you know, when you are first to start with something, you need to also be a bit innovative with stuff. We have set up a maintenance office within the lab. We know in Ghana here we have a problem with our maintenance culture. And as past students, we felt that it's also our contribution to nation building and education as well. And as past students, we've taken it upon ourselves to maintain this facility. So even though we handed it over to the school, the maintenance of the place for the next few years is going to be taken care of by the past students. We are going to set up a seed fund, okay, that will take care of all maintenance. And we have a maintenance officer that would, we've installed CCTV technology in there, so you will get to monitor everything that is happening in there. And the maintenance officer, who is also going to be appointed by the past student, would ensure that the facility is kept in its current state, at least for the next 5, 10, 15 years to come.
Wow, that's a very, very interesting one. I'm happy you mentioned the NSMQ. Have you been following it? Do you know if your school is on course to?
Definitely. And you know, the last time we played, I think we
got to the quarterfinals.
But you know the interesting thing about our NSMQ is it's not so practical. The only time we see maybe the question of the day is when they have to solve questions, but we don't see real practical work. So what do you hope this will do for, you know, general science education, and what do you hope to see in terms of more practical learning in Ghana?
So what we want to do is that we want to bring in the practicality of science in Ghana. So in there will be an exhibition on Saturday after the unveiling, and our science club have come up with so many things. They've invented hand sanitizing equipment and several other things that we want to display to Ghana. We want to bring out the practicality of the things that we've been talking about. This science lab has modern equipment that is really going to equip them practically. It's not something they are just going to learn the theory and not be able to practice it. So we have installed all the things that will help them with their practical. So once they go out there, the practical aspect of it will not be left out.
Just to add up, you know, like you said, the NSQ is purely theoretical, just calculation, chew and pour something sort of thing. But science is purely practical thing. You see, you can't do science in imagination. Yeah. You have to have a hands-on practical thing. So this will complement whatever they are doing at the National Science and Maths Quiz. That's the vision. And that's why I said we are coming for the trophy. Because we are not just two poet. No. We are coming with both.
Well, I know that for the NSMQ, there is a science fair where there's sometimes a robotics display and all that, and you do all that. So.
Yeah, we would like to even throw the invitation to the organizers. They can come to the lab. Maybe for schools within Kumasi, they can use our lab for some of these exhibitions, for the robotics and all that, yeah.
You mentioned that this would, you'd love that it would serve even some junior high schools and other schools in the region. So would there be a certain process to go through? Would people have to apply? What can they do if they want to use?
So like we've said in the past, even KNUST people used to come there. So the process is that if you want to have a use of the lab, you just write to the school's administration. We'll look at the schedule, see if the place is available at a certain date that you want to come in. Then, so it's available to schools within the area, JHS, even secondary schools within the area can come over there and have their practicals then.
So you say this existed when you were in school, so it wasn't built from scratch?
So no, this is a whole new one. Okay. So we have the old one there, which we are going to give to a different department to use for now. So the old structure is still there. It's going to be given to probably the visual arts department to use. So this is an entirely new thing. We started from scratch.
And talking about visual arts, I hope you would also build
We're looking at building an art studio for them in the very near future.
I'm interested because I did visual arts.
Yes. Oh, that's we don't want to leave any of the departments out.
Because sometimes we are treated like the last ones when it comes to everything development. But thank you so much. Okunini NST Awenim is chairman of the planning committee, and Okunini Harry Boachi is member of the planning committee. So your final words as we wrap up this conversation. Okay, so our final words is from tomorrow, the 8th of July, Saturday the 9th, and Sunday the 10th are the days that we've earmarked for the commissioning. So tomorrow is going to be homecoming day. We expect all past students to show up at the campus tomorrow. Then on Saturday, we've invited all the big people in Ghana that matter when it comes to education. The Honorable Dr. Yawaduchum, he will be the special guest of honor. And the chairman for the occasion is going to be our own Okunini Nanabuachiyam Abu-Baidoo, then Kwanta Kesehine. We've also invited notable Akunini like Honorable Damboche, Senior Macmenu. They are all past students that are gracing the occasion. So we want all past students to make it a point to be there. This is the biggest event for our school, and we expect that nobody is left out. Everybody should show up. Yes. All right. So to you all Akunini out there, this is an invitation being thrown to you. Thank you, gentlemen, for coming. Thank you. Once again, congratulations on achieving this after 9 years. Yes. And it's a good way to invest your money. Yes. I'm sure the young ones will be grateful for all you've done for them. Okay. Now, kiddies, the time to prove that you are the best and biggest kid chef in Ghana and beyond is here again. Join season 2 of the Big Chef reality show on Joy Prime and win amazing prizes. Let me tell you how. Record yourself cooking your best dish and send us the video on WhatsApp number 0551 575757. Very simple, 0551 575757. The deadline for submission is on the 10th of July 2022, just a few days away. But we can't wait to see the amazing talent this season brings. It's the second edition of the Big Chef reality show. Joy Prime Big Chef reality show is sponsored by Fortune Rice, always on point, just like Mummy. Frital sunflower oil, enjoy the goodness in tasty meals. Top Choco is chocolate tea, Flora tissues, quality tissues for everyone. Big Chef this July, only on Joy Prime. When we return, you'd have your say via phone and via social media. Do stay for that. Thank you so much. It's now time to hear what you have to say about the big issues we've been discussing. And today, I've been joined by Brace, Samuel Kujo. Brace, good to have you.
Good to have you too,
Ben. Yeah. Today's not a Friday, but we brought you on. Looking smart and classy as usual.
Thank you. Learning from you and Ben. You have to look classy on the AM show.
I know, right? Okay, so you've been having an interesting conversation with Dr. Help me with his name.
The MP for
Dr.
Dixon.
Dr. Dixon Tufo. And then Al-Hassan Suhini. And amongst the things you discussed, one thing that struck me, also because of what's happening in the UK, has to do with Adjoa Safo. Okay. So we know the UK Prime Minister, British media has announced that he'll be resigning. And it's because a lot of his...
But we should add that he'll be resigning as leader of the
Conservative Party, yes. But, I mean, the point is this, that his government or members of his government have expressed no confidence in him. 50 of them have resigned, some have revolted, and he says, okay, this is what I'm going to do. I remember you asked a question about whether or not she shouldn't just resign because, you know, you've been away for long. Work is stalled, the people aren't represented. Clearly, yes, there's a problem. But when you do the balancing, which is the most prudent decision to take now? Well, the president still keeps her as gender minister. She still has a position, even though, you know, she's been away. So that's an interesting point of the conversation you had with your guests.
I think that the other one that also should strike all of us is the information by Suhini that there is that intention to declare a vote of no confidence or to file a vote of no confidence in the finance minister in Parliament. And they are urging that leadership will agree for them to file that question. Because if it gets there, then it means that the chances of the finance minister continuing as a finance minister is slim.
And when do they hope to do this? And then how does it affect our chances? Or how does it affect the work that he's doing with the IMF team that has arrived in the country? The interesting days ahead.
Yeah, but fortunately, the team that is engaging the IMF, like the name, it is a team.
It's a team, yeah.
So if he gets out, I'm not sure it would be too much of a problem because then the leader of the economic management team, who is the vice president, would have to, if the finance minister is the leader, the vice president should come in or will have to come in as the minister until a substantive minister for finance is appointed. Again, he has deputies. One of them is Dr. Kuma, who has shown clearly that he probably understands, you know, what the economy needs and what negotiations should be like. So I'm sure he can be pulled in to replace him. So let's see. But it will be interesting to see how this travels. And for the first time, correct me if I'm wrong, that we'll have a vote of no confidence in a minister. Has it ever happened in Ghana?
Not that I already remember.
So maybe this will be the first time for us to test the waters to see how we can go with, you know, demanding performance from our ministers.
All right. So today we have really limited time. Please, when you call, listen to us over the telephone, not on your TV. Mute your television set, listen to us, and be as clear and concise as you can. Hello, Abdul Ganiu. Good morning.
Yes.
How's the Savannah region?
Oh, we are doing good.
Great. Let's hear you.
How are you?
We are doing great. Thanks for asking.
Alhamdulillah. We thank God. First of all, good morning to you and good morning to your viewers, especially the good people of the Boyaman Cargo constituency. I think the issue of IMF, I think is good. All of us know that we are not in good times. We are in hard times in this world. The pandemic has caused a lot of damage to the people of the whole world. The only thing we want to do is that we should pray for the government to do diligently so that we can use the money that they are going to take from the IMF to move the economies very well in this country. We all know it's not only Ghana. In this hula baua, no. Everybody knows what is going on in this world. Because of the pandemic, if you disagree, 2009 2018, 2019, 20, we all see what the government has done for the good people of this country, especially my constituency, for instance. We have gotten a lot of developmental projects that was not even 2 years. By under 2017, 2019, we have gotten it. Because of what? This pandemic messed everything up. And the government himself knows that. Without money, you can't develop your country. So I think let's support the government and let's pray for the ministers and the government to help the good people of this country to move the country forward. Other than that, we don't have anything to say again. So the only thing we can do is that let's help the government, inshallah.
All right. Thank you so much, Abdul Ganiu, joining us from the Savannah region, and he shared his thoughts on the IMF issue. Just as a way of reminder, we've been touching on a wide range of issues today. We've been talking about the strike by the teachers, which is in day 3. And the children, obviously, are those who are suffering as a result of what's happening.
And the teachers are not ready to back down. If you listen to Musa there, he says, well, we went to the table yesterday. Government came begging. We said, no, we are beyond begging. And so it looks like they are not willing to take anything. But
let's hear from Emmanuel, who's joining us from Bolga. Hello, Emmanuel. Good morning. Let's hear you. Hello, Emmanuel.
Yes, good morning.
Good morning. Let's hear you, please.
What I have to add to your conversation today is about... Yes, madam. Hello? Okay, can you hear me now?
Well, too bad we lost Emmanuel. Please, when you call us, listen to us over the phone. Mute your television set. There usually is a delay with the TV. So if you listen on the TV, you keep dragging us, and that will prevent other people from calling to share their thoughts with us. Frimpong is joining the conversation. Hello, Frimpong. Let's hear you.
Yeah. Hello.
Good morning, Frimpong. Please go ahead. Let's hear you.
Okay, thank you for the opportunity. My name is Frimpong, as already declared. And yeah, my take for the topic on board is that I want to register that Ghanaians are ungrateful to social development progress. And that's what the new patriotic party should have considered. Because when you look at the flagship programs that are on board, helping to raise standards to bring the future into clarity, I want to...
Well, looks like we've lost Frimpong. Quickly, we'll take our last caller from the OT region. Obing, hello. Good morning. Let's hear you, Obing.
Ohini Yabua.
Obing Yabua.
Ohini Yabua.
Ohini Yabua. Forgive me.
Right.
You're calling us from the OT region.
Yeah.
How are you doing?
I'm
Share
fine.
your thoughts
You?
with us. We're doing great. Thanks for asking.
I want to say something about this country. Hello?
Please go ahead. Make your point.
Yeah. We have 3 things to do as a nation as at now. One of the things is to beg for forgiveness spiritually. You know, Chachuchi Kata cursed this nation by quoting Hosea to say that we have sown wind and we shall harvest chaff. So we have to beg for forgiveness of things. That is number one. Then the second thing is that as a nation, we have come to the point of considering other people's view. We shouldn't just be looking at government in power and all decisions belongs to government. They should come to the point of realization that other people's view matter in terms of decision. If we don't do these things, we don't go back to ask for forgiveness of our sin and then bring inclusiveness in terms of decision making, then I fear to say that we are heading to a very big truth. Thank you.
Right. Thank you, Ohini Yabua, for joining the conversation. We appreciate your time there. He lists 3 things he thinks as a nation we should do, and one of them is asking for forgiveness. All right, so Brace, we're quickly wrapping up the show.
Yep.
But it's been an interesting one. Coming up is News Desk, where the conversations continue. We bring you in-depth analysis on the news that is generating as the day progresses from different parts of the country. So do stay with us. But from Brace and myself, it's been a pleasure serving you this morning.
It's still the B&B.
The B&B thing, yeah. So Bernice, Brace and Benjamin, thank you so much for waking up to join us every morning. And you know that you're always at the heart of what we discuss and our focus for the show. So do stay with us here on Joy News, your most credible news source. Don't forget, News Desk is next. Take care.
All right. Thank you for being part of the show.